Welcome to the Here We Go podcast, a place to share your experiences in football programs that players have loved regardless of record or on-the-field accolades. I'm Tom Letson with my co-host, Greg LaCava. Okay, welcome everyone to the Here We Go podcast. I think this is episode 8. Is it episode 8, Coach LaCava?
It is episode 8, man.
They are rolling along, okay, and so, Coach LaCava, with my podcast partner, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Looking forward to this.
We're looking forward to this.
I was racking my brain about this, and I believe in all of our coaching. For me, Casey is the only player that ever coached with us like full time in all of our stops. There was no one else that was that wasn't like a one-off 1 year and then gone. He was actually there,
Was there for many years. I can't even recall someone that maybe during the podcast will come up with somebody, but right off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone else who coached with us.
So he has a unique experience right now as a player for us and coaching, seeing the other side of us.
So we've been since the beginning, we've been waiting for this because, and we're going to introduce our guest here. So let me get to my intro statement. All right. So Coach LaCava and I have been looking forward to this podcast since we started. Today we have a unique guest, Kevin Keenan, or KC as he is affectionately known to us. KC has the unique distinction of playing for us at Allentown High School from his sophomore through his senior seasons, and also coaching with us after his graduation, initially at Allentown, after he graduated in June 2002, and later he coached with us during our tenure at Colts Neck, all 5 seasons from 2009 to 2013. So KC has a very unique perspective to share on the Here We Go podcast. At Allentown, KC coached with us for 2 seasons, coaching the freshman team in 2002, and then the varsity wide receiver coach during our last season in 2003. KC stayed on at Allentown the following year under the new head coach, Bob Massari, as offensive coordinator as a very young guy. That was pretty impressive. In 2006, Casey joined Coach LaCava again, this time at Manchester, where Coach was assisting under head coach Rob Panicu. At Manchester, Casey coached the wide receivers and also the JV team. Now, in 2007, Coach Keenan's football journey took him to Pennsylvania after he enrolled in Delaware Valley College for 1 year and felt compelled to keep coaching. He proceeded to contact several high schools in the area to inquire about a need, and his initiative led him to the Central Bucks West High School.
Yeah, I remember that. Holy shit. Oh, my God.
At CB West, he coached the D-line and assisted the O-line coach. Now, KC rejoined us in 2009 at Colts Neck and remained through Coach LaCava's 5 years, ending after the 2013 season. There, he coached varsity wide receivers for 4 of those years and is also the head freshman coach for 1 of those years. KC has an MA in Applied Behavioral Analysis and is board certified as a BCBA. KC's been working at Brick Schools as a BCBA since 2019. I just can't believe that so many years have gone by. So, KC, welcome to the Here We Go podcast. It's great to have you, and we can't wait to get into it. How you doing today?
I'm great, guys. It's so good to see you both. Thanks for having me on.
Well, tell us what you think so far about the podcast. You've watched some of the podcasts, and we've really been looking forward to this, because you have this unique perspective, as I said in the intro, but tell us, tell us, what you think so far.
Well, it's been great to hear all the different perspectives. Coach Bova's, intro episode with you guys was wonderful, and all the great things he had to say about you, Coach Letson, and his experiences. And we were just talking about how in depth he could be about the memories he had. Coach Welsh, the same thing, the detailed memories they have of specific events that, I may not be able to match. And Coach LaCava doesn't always have that long-term memory. But we're going to do our best to recap what we can remember. But the podcast has been wonderful. Abby was so articulate, and she had so many wonderful things to say about playing for us and her experiences, which were completely unique to anybody else's as
Yes.
a
Mhm.
female player on a high school varsity football team.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
wow. Even just saying that is
Mhm.
remarkable.
Yeah.
And then listening to Coach Murph last week, I don't know how you can get through that and just not feel loved by what he had to say about all of his experiences with you guys and his previous experiences with football and elsewhere. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to talking about some of that stuff with you guys too.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
that's great. So before we go on, of course, I came a little prepared here. And so there is the young Mr.
there
Keenan.
he is.
Okay. In 2003, I had to put the shot on the right end. I don't know what your fighting weight is these days, KC, but you're a nice and slim guy right there. You know. So KC, this is which we're going to get to in a minute. This is a pregame. I believe, Greg, I think this might have been our last game ever. Was our last game against Trenton Central in
Dude,
2003? KC, was that our last game?
God, I don't remember who the opponent was, but I'm pretty sure the lights had been up permanently by that point. Is that right?
Oh,
yeah, yeah, they were
yeah.
up.
So
Yeah.
that was certainly a Friday night game.
Mhm.
I don't remember the opponent, but yeah, look at that. Look at the khakis. Coach LaCava mandated khakis.
Yeah.
We had the cool gear, the zip up there, looking good. And
Mhm.
last time you guys saw me, I was a little on the heavier side, and I'm back to this weight. This is the fight weight.
Nice,
Well,
nice.
I got to say, I got to give Coach LaCava props here, man. That
Unis,
that
baby.
is that coaching top right there. I had that for many years after.
Yeah.
Okay, and I wish I still had it. I mean that's
Listen,
a solid coaching top right there.
one thing every coach that's ever coached me can never argue. We were freaking geared up, man. Our unis were legit. The coach's gear was legit. Everything was legit that way.
It
No
really
one could
was.
ever
It's
argue
true.
that.
It's true.
Listen,
And I have that. I've got that around here somewhere. Not that I'd put it on now, but I have it.
I went searching for that bird for months to change that stupid Allentown logo for that bird specifically. For
well,
months, I
I
I
don't
searched for that.
know how anybody could, place a red bird in a certain way with a certain look to make it look pretty good for a football team. Angry Bird. You know
Well,
what I
here's the
mean?
thing, though. It's Illinois State. That's where I got it from. So
Yeah.
they have to get credit. This is not I didn't originate this, but I brought it to Allentown.
Yes.
You
25
know,
years later, we're going to give them props. So,
I was watching them in the playoffs this year. I loved watching them with the Redbird on their helmet.
love it.
They were in the playoffs, Illinois State. It was freaking awesome.
Well,
Do you
Whenever
remember?
I hear, one sec, whenever I hear, like, there's no reason why I would ever watch Illinois State. But whenever I hear it recently, especially this year, because they had a really good year, I am like, I'm watching that game. I'm watching that game for the uniforms.
that's cool.
For the
That's
uniforms.
cool. All right, KC, now we have another photo here.
Yeah,
This is
look at
the
that,
Allentown
man.
Redbirds in 2003. This is the
Yeah.
entire team.
The whole
Okay.
team,
Like
man.
That's right. That's everybody.
some teams would be, oh, those are our receivers, and our running backs out for specials. You know what I mean?
Yep.
This is our entire team right there. Okay. KC, you know, tell us what it was like, to play on a team and also to coach a team that in the year that we had the most players, maybe we started with 32 in camp and ended up with 26 or 27, right? What was it like? What was it like playing on a team with such few kids?
And that happened a lot. And it was, as a player, it's a grind because you're doing a little bit of everything all the time. Not a whole lot of time to get yourself right. But we wanted to do it. And those teams, we knew we were outmatched. We knew what the competition looked like, and we knew we were physically. But it was our goal as players in that team to let the other team know that they were in a fight.
Right.
Right. And you guys, that was important to you too.
Oh,
That
yeah.
win, lose, or
Oh,
draw. The
yeah.
team's waking up on Sunday with an extra ice pack with their breakfast.
Yeah.
And we carried that with us. That meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, look, looks like this is a football team, man.
Look
Like,
at those unis, baby. Freaking
there's,
unis were awesome.
there's only 25 kids there or whatever, 24, 25. But pride with the flag and they're
Yeah.
looking good and they're ready to play. Like, look at the next one here. Like, look at this size difference. Okay. Like, so this is Pat Swall. And Pat Swall just epitomizes the Allentown player back there who didn't care what size that these studs were over here on this other end. Like he was going to tattoo them the best of his ability, you know?
Yeah.
And, and this just right here, this picture just, it just sends a certain message, you know?
Listen, it's nice to hear that because we've always talked about it as coaches about how we had a part of an episode about this, about, creating an identity, but it's nice to hear players actually believed it about themselves. They wanted that identity. So Coach KC, like that's basically what you're saying, right? I mean, we drilled that into the team and you guys took it on.
That was 100% part of the culture that you guys were trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
And, it wasn't any much sugarcoating about, what we're going to do wins and losses wise. We didn't really talk about it that way.
Right.
We talked about what your individual performance could look like and what we could do together as a team to let our opponent know that they played Allentown that day.
Right.
That really did mean a lot to us. We if we weren't going to win, we wanted to put some bruises on bodies.
Yeah, it's amazing. Awesome.
I always said, I'm like, I don't know if you probably remember this, Casey. I always said, they better need help getting up from the table
the next morning. I'd be in jail right now if this stuff was happening now with the shit you do.
That was not being dirty. I mean, that was just being tough. Like we didn't.
Someone goes home now, tells their mommy, and then there's a whole problem.
So all right, KC. All right, so this is where I'd like to start, and I don't know, Greg, see what you think. First, I'd like to tell us I don't know how long that you were in Allentown or if you grew up there, but could you just tell us a little bit about Allentown and growing up there and how you liked it? And then we want you to shoot into high school before we got there and, what you noticed about the climate with football players. You were on the football team. I think Coach Henderson was the head coach. I don't know if he was the head coach. Oh yeah, you were with us 3 years, so he was the head coach when you were a freshman. Mm-hmm. And what was it like, being on that team and not taking any shots at anybody or anything like that? But it was a different. Coach Henderson was a string of coaches that tried to turn things around at Allentown, including us. And and guys just didn't stay there long enough, okay, to get a culture going. They really didn't. But anyway, Casey, that's what we're looking for. Like, how was Allentown growing up? And then, tell us about your high school experience before we got there. And then, and then let's move into after when we became, when we got there, what the changes you noticed and what the players were saying and things like that.
Yeah. So actually, I grew up in Millstone Township, which was part of the Upper Freehold Regional High School District. So I didn't get to connect with a lot of Allentown kids until I got there in '98. But in Millstone, there was a good group of sports kids who were decent athletes, and we were competitive. And even if it was rec ball or on the playground or in the backyard, we played to win, and that was important to us. And we were fine. There was no grudges held really or anything, but it was sports. Right. So Millstone in some ways was becoming, I think, a sports town, and we were looking forward to having that go with us to Allentown. And we know that it didn't exactly turn out that way. I won't say it.
Oh my God.
I won't say it, but I loved my time in Allentown. I loved the town itself. My mother was a shop owner on Main Street for many years.
Oh my God.
Well, tell us the shop. Tell us the shop again.
That's
Casey.
right.
Yeah. My mom was the shop owner of a store called Wisteria.
Yeah.
She named that after her favorite tree from her mother. And she got in there, I want to say it was 97 maybe. And she was in there until, maybe 10 years ago now. Wow. She was there for a long time and she was a mainstay and she was a big part of the community. And I know that she was a big supporter of what we were doing, while I played and even after too. So that was great to have her support. And you guys did a lot to get the town support during those times. But so going into Allentown, we had kids who were good athletes and we were hoping they would come with us, and some did and some didn't. And I got to the program in '98 with Coach Henderson, who was nice to us. He was okay to the freshman kids. There weren't very many of them. I remember going to the summer workouts in the weight room, and I went to all of them. I went to every one of them. Me and one other kid were there for every single one of them. And he'd occasionally come over and say a couple things to us. Not a whole lot of instruction, really. There was a plan, I remember, but nothing that he was really checking up on or offering too much advice on, and not necessarily a slight on him. We were two freshman kids who were just coming to the workouts and trying to get involved.
Was there a freshman team? Did you have enough for a freshman team?
We did.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Tom Petty was the coach of that team. You remember him?
I do. Yeah.
And he was really very well liked by the students and the players, and funny guy, and a good teacher at the high school. So I played for them. And I remember Coach Henderson, being friendly enough to us, but not a whole lot other than that. And
now I'm just curious before you go on.
Yeah.
Can you remember the record of your freshman team the year before we got there?
I don't remember. I know.
Was there a win in there anywhere?
I wish. I want to say yes. I want to say yes. I don't.
That means there was none.
Coach LaCava's here on the podcast.
I mean, we'll get there. We're gonna conjure some stuff up. But at this moment, can I tell you what our record was? No, man, I can't.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right.
I can't do it.
Gonna give you a pass on that.
Appreciate it. So, but no other kids showed up until our summer camp, training camp opened up.
Right.
And then we had plenty to form a team. But during that camp, I remember that we practiced with the varsity a whole heck of a lot, probably for numbers. And I remember a special teams period, and we were doing a varsity kickoff, and I volunteered to be on the kick return scout team. 14 years old, 130 pounds, maybe, but I want to play. And I get into my wedge with my teammate who was next to me. I don't remember who it was, but I'm in the wedge. And here comes Joe Panzika screaming down his lane. And I saw God for a second there. And he lit me up. And that rang a bell a little bit. I didn't see the trainer. I don't remember who the trainer even was that year. Right. Nobody asked me to go see the trainer. It was a 14-year-old kid and a 17-year-old borderline man. And
I remember that.
He was a nut job. You just brought that name back to me. He was Lenny Panzika. He was a nut job.
It was Lenny and Joe, his older brother Joe, who you guys didn't have.
We didn't have Joe. I remember Joe.
We had
too.
Lenny though. He was good.
We had Lenny.
And Lenny was Lenny was nuts in a good way. Like
yes.
And Joe was nuts. Joe was just like that. And Joe was a little bit bigger than Lenny.
Yeah, I know.
And I made the mistake of getting in Joe's way.
Right.
I think part of the point I wanted to make about that, though, was that that's not something that you guys would have gone for.
Right.
Putting a freshman on a scout kick return team full speed against a varsity player.
Right.
One of the things that, Coach Letts, you had asked me about was like differences pre-LaCava. That's one of them. That's not something that a Coach LaCava, Coach Letson team was going to be okay with.
No.
No, I can't see anybody being okay with that.
I know.
I mean, that's just common sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, nothing special there, just common sense.
Yeah, right.
You would think, but as it was, I learned a little lesson there. But I got up and whatever, ribs been pain for some time, and you just go on.
So tell us about I know you're a freshman, and so you were, quasi involved with the varsity, but you were there. And tell us about the climate in the school with the football team, and how the players were welcomed or perceived, and how the players, acted, and did they feel, did they want to win? Were they competitive? Did they try? You know what I mean? Tell us about the climate and the culture before we got there.
So the climate and culture, if you walk into school and you tell people that you're a football player for Allentown High School, you get laughed at, and you're going to have people giving you their sympathy. Like, I'm sorry you're doing that. They're bad, right?
See at your funeral.
Pretty much, right? Like, really? You want to do that with your time? And there were a few guys who were pretty proud of that, and they did try, and they were competitive, and they were decent athletes. But we couldn't get anything going.
Right.
That team did win one game that year and had to forfeit it because an ineligible player played.
Really?
Incredible.
I
didn't know that.
That's correct. That's
that you remember. You remember that?
I remember that. Yeah. And so that was it in a nutshell for Allentown. That was if it could go wrong, it was going to go wrong.
Right.
And people thought it was a joke. And high schools have football teams. It was just something that was done. You go to the game and team doesn't win and we just move on with our lives.
Right.
KC, were you aware? Did you go to a varsity game, a varsity home game, as a freshman?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Were you
I
aware
went
that
to, go ahead.
were you aware that the band was not there playing?
Everybody was aware that the band was out there playing.
Yeah.
I think the whole town knew about the beef between the band and the sports programs.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
I guess to their credit, and let's not
Oh,
go
they
over,
were great.
but to their credit, they were very successful.
I know.
They were,
They
but
were
they
the ones
only
bringing home the gold.
exist. But the band only exists for the football team in the fall. It's the only reason to have a marching band. Like, come on, I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
Come
But
on,
anyway,
bands are such a huge part. Like
they're huge.
like in my career, like I'd get mad at the band when they were playing when I was trying to yell stuff in. You know what I mean? But that was just crazy. I love the band. You know
It's
what I mean?
the atmosphere it
I love the band.
creates.
It's
the
best.
music. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and they're
That's
so
supposed to
far.
be part of the-
And knowing, working in a high school for 14 years, and getting to know some of the band kids, like they were just fired up to do it too. Generally, they were really fired up to do it. And
Right.
and they talk like it was still like we lost, we might beat this thing. It was a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
the band should be part of the
you-
culture, right? The band
Yes.
should be part of the culture of the football
Hell
season.
yeah.
It would have been. It would have been if it wasn't for the band director at that time. So anyway, so you played freshman. You had a freshman season in
Mhm.
'98, which was good. The varsity team won one game and then had to forfeit it. So Coach Henderson, I don't know if he resigned or how that worked out. I think he had resigned and went to Virginia or something.
That's right.
He
That's what I
resigned and took a job in Virginia. So now you're in flux. And then Coach Letson and I show up. So move forward. Now you're going to become a sophomore. You're going into your sophomore year now.
Yeah.
So go into that progression and
How about that first meeting?
Yeah,
So-
the first meeting.
So before the first meeting, we started to hear, a few of us were hearing about who was going to come be our coach. And if I'm mistaken about this, I thought it was kind of like late in the spring, right?
Yeah, it was late. Yeah.
So we were waiting to see who it was going to be, and we got the name, and I guess somebody was digging up some research to find out where you were coming from and what you were like, and we'd heard that you were coming from Long Branch, Mid South, and some pretty storied programs, and we were like, this is great. We need this. We have a chance to kind of turn some things around here and maybe not be a joke anymore.
Right.
We didn't want to be laughed at for wearing varsity jackets any longer. And we want to put a product in the field. So that was exciting for us to hear that somebody with your pedigrees were going to come and coach us.
Mm-hmm.
But that first meeting, I mean, I remember the note cards getting passed out. Tell us who you are and what your position is that you think you're going to play.
Right.
We'll tell you.
Yeah, we'll tell you what you're going to play. Yeah.
We'll figure that out later. But you can,
Yeah.
You can tell us what you think at the moment.
Mhm.
And we started to get a sense of your personality and what you were going to expect from us in terms of, be early. That's on time.
KC, Coach
you had
LaCava had to say something about the weight room. I don't know if you remember during the first meeting. He had to.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes,
because that was going to be super important to you and to building the program. But very much about details and being on time. I was 10 minutes early to this today, guys, because I remember 1999.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And talking about being coached, like you're going to be coached,
right?
And we expect you to do what you're coached to do. So the personality and some of the intensity was coming out right away. And I remember talking with a couple of the guys being like, "Oh, this could be a little challenging."
Right.
Let's see what's going to happen in the summer. So, we moved into the summer, and of course, I showed up to all the weight room activities. I don't remember what attendance was like. I'm probably not great.
Attendance wasn't great in the beginning, but I think it started to get better because I would not let it go. Like I would send out messages and I would tell the team like there was no way I was going to let kids not show up because, going into it, that was part I knew right away. That was part of the culture that needed to change because back then, not a lot of programs put a lot of time into their weight training programs. Like it was an afterthought. It was something you had to do, but no one really cared. But to me, it was like the end all be all. To this day, it's the end all be all, for any athletic event.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead, Coach. Were you saying something?
No.
Coach Letts?
No, I agree.
No.
I'm agreeing with you.
So
Absolutely.
one of the first things I did was I transformed that weight room, like at Allentown. Like I put up posters there. Same thing I did at Colts Neck. I put posters on the wall. I put the program up on the wall. Coach Casey, you remember any of that, or is that
I
way
do.
too-
I do. And you hand wrote a lot of those, didn't you?
Yes, it was all handwritten. Yeah,
And they were on big, it was either white or like a
yeah,
yellowish
white.
poster board,
Yeah,
all up around the entire room, panorama.
Yeah.
You could turn around, you could see a poster.
I hand wrote every one of those.
And
That's right, you did.
Did you make like a 200 club, 250 club, and stuff like that?
Yes.
That was later on. That came a little later on.
Yeah.
As the weight room improved and kids were coming, then I had to give them incentives to keep coming. So we had the 200 club, the 250 club, the 300 club, and the 350 maybe. Which, when you look back on it, those numbers suck. But I didn't break it up that way. I broke it up: bench press, squat, deadlift.
Right.
So you didn't have to have an overall thing. It was each individual lift.
It was much more attainable that way. That was the idea.
Yes, that's the way I did it. Because I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I got to give these kids something to reach for.
Yeah.
And then our weight, and you like it. And one thing I want to absolutely make sure to the audience that, talking to you, or that is learning about you, you never missed anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. That is one of the reasons why I had no issues hiring you right out of high school as a varsity football coach.
Which is
because
kind of unheard of. It's good.
That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
There's only one other person I know that's happened to, me. Like Coach Andel was my position coach, and he hired me my first job. He coached me. But that was one of the reasons why it was not even a question. And several other things you did throughout your high school career, we'll get to later, that it was even, that it made no doubt in my mind. I mean, you bought in, and it was obvious you did.
Yeah. Casey, can you remember that we had the team play basketball? Do you remember we had you guys play basketball?
And I don't think you know the motive.
I remember playing ball later on, certainly when I was a senior, but afterward too, because I was definitely involved in that. I don't remember 99, 2000, the basketball.
Yeah, we had you guys play. We had a tournament. I don't know if it was a 3-on-3 tournament, Greg. I don't know what it was.
I don't remember what it was, but there was a purpose.
Yeah, we wanted to see you guys play.
knows the purpose. We wanted to
see who was athletic out there, and we felt like that was a. We took notes, we thought we didn't know anybody. So we felt that was going to be a good indicator of saying, hey, who looked athletic and who didn't,
That's desperation. Yeah. That's desperation right there.
Well, no, was that 99?
I think it may have been 99. It may have been our first year because we didn't know anyone.
99.
Well, that's how right? That's how you're supposed to. You're going to go in blind and wait until August.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
All right, so tell us about the first season, man. We want to know. Like, it was a rough season for Coach LaCava, obviously, and me. We went in pretty optimistic, feeling like we could, make a splash. But it was difficult. It was difficult, and it was a tough season. But we did end up winning 2 games, right, Coach?
Yeah.
We won our last game against Princeton, which was a big win with Tom Paintshaw quarterbacking us, and I think bringing us back, maybe Greg, in the game, and we won.
If you're asking me, I think KC. He may know.
I think Matt Mortis was a freshman, and I think he had a good game against Princeton, our last game of the year.
That's right. I think Matt and Ryan came up to play with us because they didn't have the freshman team, but they were.
And we won that. We won that game, and that was a really good sign that we won that game because look.
I have a question. If you can remember, you may have blocked it out like I have. Do you remember going into the first game against Keyport? How you felt after we got slaughtered in that game?
Are you asking me or Coach Letts?
I'm asking you. I know
how I felt. Yeah, Casey. It was 68-8. I remember.
I remember that one. I remember, and that was Malcolm Postel, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was good.
He was really good.
And you worked us hard, Coach. And, defensively, I remember those practices, and we were just in pursuit drills and then back and forth trying to keep that sucker in front of us.
Mhm.
Can't let him get to the outside. We are in hot pursuit, and we're going to eliminate the Allentown Swarm, though, and the Allentown U.
Yeah, the
The
U
U
stunt.
stunt.
U stunt.
That was
And
where that was created, the U stunt. After watching that first game, Tommy's like, "Look at this U stunt." It was hysterical.
I mean,
and
I learned. So I'm going to tell you what I learned in that game. Okay. Well, first of all, we're going to tell the audience that yes, it was 68-8, but 5 snaps went over our punter's head, and he was six. Like Greg, was he 6'2"?
He was tall. He was tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 5 punters went over his head. So, they had 5 turnovers or I mean, 5 big plays that way. Not all for touchdowns, but obviously field position.
Right.
But it didn't dawn on me like, we came from Middletown, where kids were just, they were football savvy because so many of them played Pop Warner. It was a big thing all the way up. And
Right.
I know a lot of kids in Allentown did too. But, I just didn't, I put the middle stunt in with the middle linebacker, okay, with the nose going one way and the linebacker going the other, right? And I didn't get it from up top, and I guess I wasn't watching, but our middle linebacker, when I called the X stunt, okay, he repeatedly went in the same gap as the nose.
Right.
So I had 2 guys in one gap, and the other gap with the freaking red C. And we were giving these guys who were much better than us just let's carte blanche,
It didn't.
into the second level.
It
I couldn't
didn't
believe it.
fucking matter about the fucking Rich Lex. It had no bearing on the
No, I
game. We
know. I'm
got
just saying.
ass.
What
We
I'm
got our asses
saying
kicked.
is, I just figured that was a given. That someone would know not to go into the same
Well,
gap.
listen to this now. You want to talk about deja vu? Now, I remember that like it was yesterday. The snaps over the punter's head
yeah,
nonstop. Do you remember going into Colt's neck? We couldn't get a shotgun snap.
Yeah, I remember.
yes.
I will never forget that. At Rumson, scrimmaging Rumson, we're snapping the ball all over the place. And I was losing my mind. I'm having
You
deja
were.
vu from Allentown. I'm losing my freaking mind that
I
no
think
one
you
could
may have
snap.
given us a here we go at that point.
I
Yeah.
think I think I sent you a bill afterwards, Greg.
Yeah.
I had to talk you down.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, okay. So continue on. Sorry,
Year
Casey.
So
one.
yeah, so the
Year
key
one.
point then, look, we were so totally outmatched, and you knew that going in. Those guys were beasts. They were really good players. But I think that it became really clear that we were going to break some habits,
Mm,
especially defensively, but also just overall discipline. Again, the cultural being on time. How are we going to look? How we present ourselves, and even how are we acting in the building too. We were just going to break habits and get ourselves in the best possible position to compete
mm,
in 99 and then move forward to 2000. But
mm.
that would mean that was clear to us that we were just trying to get through and build something.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
What was, if you can remember, like what was the general feeling about Coach LaCava and I during that first year, because, you had a mix, you had younger kids coming in but you had older guys that were used to other people. And we came in and, I remember since you came to everything, you didn't miss the run through the town that we had. We ran with the kids through town.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know what the players thought of that, the older guys, but I don't know what they thought of a lot of things that we were doing because, they were older guys and they were, they were at the end of their career, So tell us what you thought, how the players kind of felt about us that first year.
I can tell you that the junior and sophomore class were buying in, and we were looking forward to that. So I think that was the original quest, wasn't it? The run through the town.
Yeah. No. The
It
quest
wasn't.
was something else. This was
Okay.
this was something else. Yeah.
Okay. So we were looking forward to the run through town. We thought it was different. It was kind of cool. And, we weren't sure exactly how far we were going to go. I don't think, at least I don't remember knowing how far we were going to run,
Right.
but
Right.
we knew that we were going with you and we were going as a team and we were trying to build some pride in the
Mhm.
program. The senior kids I don't think loved it. I don't think they were too invested. Like you said, they were kind of on their way out and I
Right.
think they'd been through a couple of coaches at that point. And I don't think anybody was going on to play anywhere else
Right.
after high school. So for them, it was this is kind of just they play ball and they'll come to practice and they'll listen and then they'll play in the game and try to have some fun.
Right.
But they were out. They were leaving.
Right.
And that's kind of understandable, I
Yeah.
guess. But I know that my class and the class above mine were buying in, and we were looking forward to the class that was gonna join us coming up.
Cool.
Awesome. So let's move into the next year, which was our best year record wise. So we go from what grade were we? 2-8.
2-8. Yeah.
We go from 2-8, and then we win our last game of the season
4-6
in 2000 and go 4-6. We upset Heightstown, big upset victory right at the end, very exciting. And so we win 4 games, probably I think it was probably the second highest win total in Allentown history at that point, 40 years or something like that. Right. But anyway, tell us about that year, okay, and being on that team and what that meant to everybody.
Getting to the 4 wins was significant because the school hadn't seen, that level of relative success in many years, and people were starting to catch on that we were competitive, and we were winning some games, and we made some changes on offense in the middle of the year that I didn't love personally initially. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Look, I was a quarterback on that team, and we moved Matt, who was playing running back, to be the quarterback, and Tom Paintshaw moved to play wide receiver,
right?
Which was a great spot for him,
yes.
And great spot for Matt too.
Right.
Obviously, we know how that worked out, but I wanted to play.
Right.
I was competitive, and I knew I could throw a little bit, and I felt like I knew what I was doing, but I was not the athlete that Matt was, and I understood that. I did want to make it difficult that week that the change was made, and I practiced my butt off, and I remember throwing it well and moving well, and I felt like, I made some kind of a case for myself to see the field a little bit.
When was that? What part of the year was that change?
That was like mid-year, I think.
All right, I'm going to tell you why now. Okay. Yeah. At that point, this is something we touched back on in the when I knew we had to be different on offense. We could just have a quarterback that can throw the ball.
Yeah.
So I knew the quarterback was going to be running and doing all this stuff. So that's basically why that change was made. Like, let's think about it. Mike Campbell wasn't a runner.
Right.
So, but we had the guys around him that could protect them. Like, we had a great offensive line also that year, so we needed someone that was just a little bit more athletic, Casey. So I remember that was the change.
16-year-old me.
I know. I know it's disappointing. I'm sure. I know.
It was the right thing to do. Of course, right. I would do it myself today.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's what you learn when you get older. You recognize the reasons behind stuff. Especially with you getting into coaching, and you understand the hard decisions that coaches have to make.
So KC, I believe the next 2 years were our best teams, and probably, Greg, I don't know what you think. I think maybe 2001 was our best overall team. KC.
Yeah, we started rolling that third
2002
year.
Was a good year as well.
Yeah, but we didn't win a lot of games, but we played hard.
2001, our defense was extremely solid, and our offense was good too. And we started out great. I think that we lost to West Windsor South 14-7 in the first game of the season. I think we brought them down to the wire, and we were 2-1 at one point, I think. And this was the big game against Notre Dame as well in 2001. So
we got to get KC's perspective.
So we got a lot to talk about 2001. Your senior season, and we mentioned a little incident that occurred. Okay, that we want to get into. That you pulled some gangster stuff on us, man. Like, that was awesome. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Tell us about your senior season, because we felt we had a really good squad.
We did, and I'll back up to 2000 just for another second too.
Sure.
Because that was a decent team, and we did put up a better record that year than we would the following year. But that Heightstown game was as close to pandemonium for Allentown as you were going to get. We played that game under the lights, I believe, at their place.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right, and a couple of big plays with Matt and Tom, and there was actual jubilation from the team after that game. Guys hugging and just felt like we'd finally done something after such struggle.
Now let me tell you the pressure that was on me at the end and what I ended up doing. Okay.
Let's hear it.
So we come up with this big play. And again, maybe you remember, Casey. I think Matt threw it to Tommy Painshaw, and
Yeah.
Tommy Painshaw caught this
Went
ball.
up. He went up and
Yeah.
caught this ball out of nowhere.
Matt
That's
threw
right.
a bomb, and then Rob Harden ran it in from like the
Mhm.
2. So we go ahead, Greg. I don't know if there was under a minute left or whatever. So these guys had athletes, and of course we didn't. So
Right.
I go 4 across. No one's ever seen it there before in that conference. I go 4 across because I know, right? And I'm nervous. I'm like, we're going to win our 4th game, and all this pressure's on me if we don't, can keep these guys, from scoring. So I call a timeout, and these guys were so zoned in on me, man. I was manic. I was manic, and I was telling everyone, like, you have so much time in a timeout. I told all 11 players, I eyeballed them. You have to do this. Don't forget this. You have to do this. You have to do that. Eyeballed all of them, right? And the official comes in. So, coach, get out, coach. And then I'm still talking as I'm going, turning around, yelling at them, right? So I had a spy on because they were great. So I had a double spy, which is the defensive ends are going to sit and look for screen. Well, Casey, you probably remember Kyle. I don't remember Kyle's last name. But Kyle was playing defensive end. And so I'm eyeballing everybody. He doesn't spy. So he doesn't spy.
Here we go.
I totally lose my mind. Okay. You appreciate this pressure. Okay. So I didn't even look at Greg. I snapped. I go, timeout. Timeout. I just start walking. I didn't even look at the official.
Hold on a second.
I didn't even look at the official.
Let me just make a point here. You are so fucking lucky that I was your head coach and you were my DC, because no one else would put up with this shit.
Listen, that was wrong. It's the only time I did it. And now you have to understand, my eyes are burning through Kyle. This poor kid doesn't know. I call timeout, screamed. I don't look at Greg. I don't look at the official. I start walking right towards him. I go, Kyle! And I'm screaming at him, Kyle! And top of my lungs, I told you to spy. And the kid's like this. You know what I mean? Now you spy. Yes, coach. Yes, coach. And so we won the game.
Yada, 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 we won.
We won the freaking game.
That was incredible. I remember
Kyle didn't make that mistake twice. And I remember Kyle was one of my good friends at that time.
He was a great guy.
He was. He really was. But I bet he looked at you like, oh, Jesus Christ. And he probably didn't do it again. Kyle probably spied on that.
I was like Michael Myers from Halloween, man.
Was his name? What was his last name, Casey?
Brousseau.
Brousseau. That's right. Kyle Brousseau.
Haven't talked to him in 25 years. Would love to talk to him.
This is a good reason to call him.
Yeah.
Tell him we're talking about him on the pod. Kyle, I'm sorry I yelled at you so loud. It was a lot of pressure.
But it was necessary.
It was a lot of pressure.
Coached him hard.
It was a lot of pressure.
Yeah. All right. So
you guys were clear about us being coached hard. You told us that was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, but coaching hard, and Casey, maybe you can expand on this. Thank you for bringing that up. So yes, I did scream at Kyle, and at that time, and I've made mention on other podcasts that I don't scream at kids, and I don't. I generally, if I scream, which I really don't, I scream at the unit, or I'm very loud at the unit to make points. That was a very isolated thing where I yelled at Kyle, which I did. Sorry, Kyle. But can you expand on that a little bit, like about how the players felt in regards to we coached? Like that was did that stick out because we didn't curse and we didn't put kids down and we didn't get in kids' faces and scream at them or anything like that. We wouldn't tolerate that. Again, go to confession after this podcast.
Listen, Kyle's the kind of dude who will forgive you, so I wouldn't be too worried about
that. Thank you, Kyle.
It'll be all right.
So tell us.
Yeah, look, nobody ever felt demeaned, I don't think. I think I know that some of the guys I played with, didn't love you both at the same time and equally.
Of course.
Time, and it's to be expected. We all know that we're going to get yelled at by a coach now and again, but you taught us, guys, and that was what made the difference. Okay. You didn't tell us what we did wrong and why we suck or anything like that. It was, look, I coached you to do this thing. You didn't do that thing. Here's how I'd like you to do that thing.
Right.
And if you did it with a louder voice, so be it.
Right.
But I think kids, and we mostly felt this way, but I think kids even today would rather be coached loudly and taught than just being spoken at loudly and feeling like they're just bad people.
Right.
So I don't think we ever felt, I know I didn't ever feel like we were bad in general, bad overall. It was, we weren't getting the message and maybe something different needed to be tried.
Right.
And that's all it came down to.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So let's move into your senior season. That was a pretty good year. Our record didn't reflect it. I think we were 3-7 at the end, but we had a number of close games. We took Notre Dame, came in undefeated, and we went into half against them. It was 9-0. We had a kickoff return call back in the first half. It would have been 9-7, but we clipped or something like that. We ended up losing that game 28-0. I think it was a pretty close game. We shut down their passing attack for obvious reasons because that's what we wanted to do. We made them run, which they did. That was a huge game, home game for us playing them, big rivalry, but we had a number of big games that year, so tell us about your senior year.
KC, one thing real quick, KC, how many of your friends from Millstone played on that team at Notre Dame?
I mean, I'll use friends loosely.
Just guys that you grew up with in Millstone. Like 10?
Probably about 10 or so, yeah.
Yeah.
And guys we thought were going to come play with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I just had to get that down. So go ahead. What was that?
So the 01 season we started with that West Windsor game and the plan was to gas them.
We beat them.
Right? I believe we
beat
did.
them.
We beat them. That was Solomon, the Rutgers kid. The head coach was the Rutgers kid.
No, that wasn't the first game of the season, and that was in 2000.
It wasn't.
We didn't beat. I don't think we beat West Windsor South in 2001.
We beat West Windsor South.
I know we did.
It was scorching hot out.
It was at their place.
It was at their place. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember.
Casey would know. Casey.
So I'm pretty certain that it was a home game.
And you were a senior. You remember you were on the field when we beat them?
I was on the sideline that day but
you were a player you were a player when we beat them?
I was a player on that team.
Then that was the time then.
But our plan going into that was to gas, and we were going full speed ahead on offense at least.
Right.
And we conditioned. And we conditioned hard as could be during that off season to be ready for that.
Yes.
Specifically.
Because they were 3 times the size, 4 times the size of us. Numbers wise, player wise, they were just huge.
They were
like 75 kids on that.
They were group 4 and we were group 2.
Yeah.
They were big and they'd been successful. And we wanted to run them sideline to sideline, at least in the first half and see if we can start breaking some stuff loose.
Yeah.
And we were successful in that game. Was
that Alfieri?
Game 2 was close.
Was that Alfieri at the tailback?
I think it was.
It was. He was until he blew his knee out.
I think Reiser might have still had a couple of carries, but he wasn't.
Yeah, he was a fullback. Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess Matt started at quarterback in 2001.
Matt was a full-time quarterback at that point.
Yeah. And we also, I think, by that point, we're in and out of a couple of different systems. I know we dabbled with some wing T stuff.
We did,
right?
Yeah. Then we ditched that shit. I couldn't do it.
No,
I tried it. Couldn't do it.
I watched it on your face during practice. You couldn't freaking stand that.
No, it was torture.
Well, one of the issues is that Coach LaCava wasn't the one teaching it. And so, it didn't feel right to him. It just, didn't feel right.
Yep.
No. And we adopted some of the concepts, some of that stuff. And we did start flipping Mike and Bill.
Did we do that?
We did.
I could have sworn I never did that. I got to apologize to listeners because I swore I never did that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. But we specifically wanted them on the move too.
Okay.
So especially if we were running gap scheme, we want them to get them going.
Gotcha.
So we did plenty of that, and you got creative that year.
You think?
Moving people around. I know Tommy Keeley was playing a couple different positions. I'm pretty sure he was in and out of Y and X that year.
Yeah.
Right. But our goal as a smaller team was to see how fast could we go, could people keep up with us for the entire game? And Coach Lutz, you were for all intents and purposes the conditioning coach for that team. Right? We're runners like you. That year we had to be able to run because we were outmatched size wise. So we need to be able to be well conditioned to go every single game.
We did have a couple of decent sized guys. That defense was probably the best defense 2001. When we had Mike Nemeth, we had Bill Hincher was an excellent defensive end. Mike Nemeth was an excellent defensive tackle. Yeah. I mean, we had obviously Ryan Reiser, Matt Mortis playing outside backer, and we had
wasn't Pat Swall on that team?
I think he was.
He was. We had Brandon playing Watkins.
Brandon was a maniac.
Yeah. We had. I'm telling you, we had a really good defense. I think
we just couldn't compete offensively.
Yeah, we were the fourth or fifth team in the area defensively, which was a pretty big deal back then.
Yeah. I'd like to go back and look at some of those scores and see just how low scoring they were, how competitive they were. I remember feeling disappointed about that team because we felt like we'd be better record wise even than we were from the 2000 team. So there was plenty of disappointment there. But you're right. That was an okay team, We held our own.
We were a good team, and what made it us think even more was that if I remember these numbers correctly, and when we played Notre Dame, we had a really good team, and they had 6 two-way starters that would have come to Allentown if they decided to, and we just always thought that if those we felt we were pretty good, but if those kids came, we would have been a very difficult team to beat. Anybody would have had a very difficult time to beat.
So we took that personally, and that's why we had the rivalry with Notre Dame.
Oh yeah.
Right.
On paper, there's no rivalry. Doesn't make any sense.
No, I know.
There was personal, sort of animosity at that point because those guys ditched us.
It may literally have been, and I never hated it. I literally hated the thought of Notre Dame. It wasn't that I hated the specific coaches, just the whole thought of it. It just pissed me off.
Well,
that whole thing.
Felt personally betrayed by the guys who didn't come play with us.
Yeah.
And that was the only time we were going to get to be on the field with them. And I know Mike Nemeth very much wanted to get involved in some stuff on the field. And I know Watkins felt the same way. Brandon was. Yeah.
I will never forget ever. When Notre Dame is walking out in 2001, and I turn around and Coach Murphy is standing on the bleachers with the Allentown football flag, waving it back and forth like this.
And those were his kids.
I know.
So anyway, your senior year, there's something that we want to talk about that put you in a special category, Casey.
Yes.
I'm going to let Coach LaCava take it from here.
Well, listen, it was game day, so I have only small snippets of what happened. So Casey, first tell everyone what happened that day before game time.
Game day, I'm a senior. I'm driving my 1992 Buick Skylark, the beast that it was, into Allentown to get to an intersection, and another driver decided not to use the stop sign, and he rolled right through it, and I T-boned him. He flipped. I whipped, and it was an ugly scene there. It was a bad accident. I was going 50 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did your bag deploy? Did your airbag deploy?
Sure did.
Wow. And so did the other guy get hurt?
I think somebody wanted some medical attention. I declined it. Luckily I had a scratch on my knee only, maybe a bruise on my leg, something that I didn't feel in the moment. The adrenaline.
Did they suggest, because of the scene, did they suggest the EMTs that you go to the hospital?
No.
Really?
No. Okay. Yeah. They gave me the old, concussion eye test, and I passed with flying colors. And I said, I got to get out of here. We're playing today.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is unbelievable, man.
This is dedication. This is a program guy.
Yes. And this is why, again, I have to say it again. There was 2 situations why. I'll only speak about this one because I don't think Casey wants to speak about the other one, but he could bring it up. He could bring it up if he'd like to. This is why, again, When he came to me after he graduated and said he wanted to coach, I was like, "You are coming board, man. This shit like this. This is just another thing." Enough. So continue. So now
So
like I'm an itinerary guy. You've had an itinerary. You know when to be there. You know when everything's happening. So tell us what was going on at that point.
well, yeah, I didn't want to be freaking late. I wanted to be on. I wanted to be on time early.
Right.
And so
Yep.
they're checking me out. And they're doing the thing, and they're checking the other guy out. And I said, "Are we almost done? I gotta go. We're playing today."
Right.
And I'm on the phone with my parents. I'm saying, I crashed the car. It's kind of bad, but can you come? And I want to get to the field.
That's unfreaking believable.
Can you believe this parent support?
I
This
can't
is
believe
wonderful.
it. I mean,
And they said, "Are you okay? You're not hurt? How did you not get hurt?" I said, "I don't know, but we should go."
oh my God.
And I don't remember which one it was. Probably my dad. My mom probably was at the store, and my dad drove me to the field, and I got dressed.
And you were late. Were you late?
No, I wasn't late.
Okay, because I remember you walking up though. Go ahead. Take
Well,
me
you
in.
guys probably had already been there, but Coach Letson sees me. He's like, "What the hell are you doing here? Was that you in that accident?"
Oh, I didn't see the accident. Tommy must have saw it. Coach Letts must have saw it. I was
did
already
I
at the
drive
school.
by it? I must have drove by it.
I was already at the school.
You drove by it, and you were like, "There was a terrible accident. Was that you?" I said, "Yeah, it's all right. I'm all right. I'm here."
Oh my God, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, you couldn't believe what you were looking at, and
oh my God.
And I wanted to be there.
That's fucking unbelievable.
So
unbelievable.
My car was totaled, needless to say. They took it away, junked it. Everybody ended up being okay. Nobody was terribly injured.
Right.
And I got to be with my teammates and my coaches on game day.
That's unfucking believable.
Wow. Oh wow. Tell us about the game.
I don't even remember who we played.
I want to say, look, I don't know for sure. I want to say it was West Windsor North that day.
And then we won the game. Then.
Pretty sure we beat them that day. Yeah. I know. One of my few moments as an athlete on the team was a game against West Windsor North, and I don't remember if it was 2000 or 01. But Coach Letts, used me as a safety on third downs a lot, and I remember protecting a lead in the fourth quarter, and they'd shown the same look a couple different times, same formation and same concept. Pretty sure it was a tight end hitting over on a play action boot type of thing. I took my read steps, and I took an extra one or two to let him come at me, and then I jumped his route and picked the ball off and ran right off the sideline.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I
was watching it all game. I'm like, "Ooh, I can't wait for him to throw that. Please throw it."
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
This is off topic, but do you happen to know anyone that might have some film, some tape? Do you know anyone that might have from the old days?
God, I don't. If anybody would have had it, would have probably been me or you, Coach LaCava. Maybe Murph. Does he have any?
Murph's down in his basement like a mad scientist. But he has his VCR broke.
We got to go over his
on
house.
VCR.
We got to go over his house.
We got to go buy a cheap VCR. And
we do. We got to get this done.
I bet it's there. I bet he's got it. Maybe Mortis has. I don't know. But if I had to bet money on it, it'd be Murph.
Yeah. All right. So that's your senior year now.
Yeah. So, sum up your senior year for us before you go on. Sum it up.
I feel, look, we played our butts off. We were together. We felt good about being a team. We felt like we had accomplished a little bit of something and turning the culture around. We weren't a joke anymore. We were taken a little bit more seriously. We were getting some nicer things said about us in the newspaper, which is nice to see. And I know you guys had a big part in that. You didn't want negative things written about kids.
Nope.
And that wasn't happening. And there was a little bit of respect building on the team, and we left feeling disappointed that we could have won some more games. We left some plays in the field, some days in the field we would probably like to have back. But I know that at the end of 01, which was just a weird year with everything that went on at fall.
Yeah, anyway, of course.
Yeah.
We felt like we left it all out there. We did what we could.
Absolutely.
That's all we ever wanted to do.
And
awesome.
This is why it's great having these podcasts, and I wish maybe my coaches would have been able to have a podcast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the amount of respect that we had for the Allentown kids in general and how they just laid it all out on the freaking field, you know what I mean? And, I remember, I'll share this with you guys because I applied after Colts Neck. I went on an interview for the Monmouth regional head job. And you know, they didn't offer. I wanted them to offer it to me. I was going to probably turn it down, pretty sure. But I remember telling them, you know, how it was going to be. And the only reason I would come out with something like this, and of course I do come out with things like this, but was the Allentowns what did it, you know? And I said, you know, I'm going to tell these kids, I said, you know, what we're going to be known for. Okay. And they didn't really know how to handle this, the two guys that were interviewing me. I said, we are going to spill so much guts, okay, on that field that you're going to have to hire extra custodial staff to freaking clean the field up after we're done, you know. And
Yeah.
I think they looked at me, you know,
Unbelievable.
and they didn't freaking understand.
Listen,
you know what I was saying.
You knew you were turning that job down, so you just let everything you always wanted to get out.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one, I gotta admit. You know,
yeah, that's a good one. That's not going to go over well with administrators, though.
Before we move on to your coaching career now, just tell us about the banquets, what you remember about the banquets, you know, at Allentown, because, you know, we tried to do the best job we could, and, you know, and they were meaningful to us. Tell us about the banquets.
We could tell. And the guys who were receiving the awards were so deserving. Matt, just everything anybody ever said about Matt was so well deserved. Matt was pound for pound one of the toughest players that I've gotten to know with coaching and playing. Deserved everything. And you guys, everybody spoke. Right. That was something you guys mentioned in the previous episode, I think, but everybody had to speak about somebody. Everybody got some recognition, freshman through senior. We loved being together one more time. And eating the spread that was put out for us wherever we were. I think my senior year, I think we did it at the Clarksburg Inn, right?
Yes.
Right? Yes. So I remember that. We were appreciative of that. It was just, you know, one more time to be together. And you guys, I know you guys put a lot of thought into that, Coach LaCava.
Oh my God.
You're into the events and making the program look good.
Yes.
And have the kids feel good.
Yeah.
You know, because this game's not for everybody, like we said.
Listen, you know from as a player, as a player, as a young coach for me, and then later on at the other stops, that everything I did was to make it look professional, as professional as you could on a high school level, with no resources. Like, we just scrap things together to make it feel important and be professional.
Well, one of the other things that you did so successfully, we talked about it just a little bit ago, was the buy-in from the community. People were sponsoring the team. You guys were you're getting advertisements up on the chain link.
That's right.
That's right.
The fundraisers that were happening.
You see all the shit I did behind the scenes here, Tom, when you were out doing whatever the fuck you were doing.
You were the head coach.
I know. You were out just coming, dropping bombs and leaving and creating shit. And I had
with my two kids. I'm coming with my two kids.
The bikes on the top of the car.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Sam and Abby fighting behind the field, our cockamamie practice field we had on.
Yeah, it was tough, man.
The old farm.
All right, so
wait. Were you on the first quest? Did you do the first quest, KC?
Yeah, I was there for that. Yep.
It was 8 miles. Do you remember it was 8 miles?
Yes.
It was 8 miles.
I did not know how I was ever going to complete that. We all know that I, you know, am maybe an average athlete, right? How the hell was I going to? How the hell was I going to run 8 miles?
You know, I got to say, Greg, looking back, 8 was a lot.
I know. We scaled it down after that.
That's
awesome. That was
then I had to do it as a coach, you know, 35 pounds heavier. And I didn't know how I was going to do that either.
Yep. That's one thing they should know. The coaches ran the quest as well. Yeah. People should know that. We just didn't have the kids doing it. Coaches had to do it too.
That's right.
Anyways. So 2001, you graduate. Tell us, pick up what goes on from there, Casey.
So 2001, I'm done playing. I'm going to graduate in the spring of 2002. And, you know, for me, I don't really have a great plan. I don't know what I'm going to do next. Mm-hmm. And I'd been to see you a lot down in your room, just in and out. We would just, how you doing? What's going on? Maybe some football stuff in between, but a lot of you kind of looking out for me.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't have a plan. And I came down with another teammate one time and he had one and I didn't. And you said, well, why don't you think about a community college? You should do that. And if you're going to do that, come coach.
Right.
I said, really? And you said, yeah, I'd like to have you come coach if you're going to be around. Mm-hmm. And I'm sold. You didn't have to say anything else. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to do. So my plan changed like that day.
Well, you got a plan. You had no plan at that point. You got a plan that
That's
day.
right. So then the plan became go to community college for a little bit,
Right.
feel it out, and still be in football, and with you.
Wow. That must have been such a shocker, right? Like,
I did not expect it.
How did you feel walking out, like after you spoke to coach? You know what I mean? Like your head must have been spinning.
I was spinning. I was a little surprised by how much respect he had for me to offer me that. I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I was not even done with school yet.
I know. But coach, I got my chance at 19 years old,
Yep. Yep.
and I reflected on that, again, because, Coach Andel respected me as a player, as a person. So he hired me at 19 years old. So
Yeah.
that's how I felt about you. I respected you as a player, as a person. You had some controversy you had to fucking deal with, but you always came back. You know what I mean? You came back and did the right thing. And that was the most important thing to me, was that you acted like a man and did the right thing. So it
Yeah.
was an easy decision to have your coach. Easy decision.
So the other thing that did for me was, you knew a lot about me personally and as a player, and I think you knew that I needed that,
Right.
and you were looking out for me. So that was
You loved football.
yeah.
Like, you loved the sport. It was so obvious you loved the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I always, God, did I want to be better than I was as a player.
I remember you were a Jet. You still are a Jet
I was going to
maniac.
say that.
He's a Jet maniac.
Fan.
Right, Coach? You were Jet
Yeah.
fan forever.
That's true.
Yes.
I can't. Yeah. It's bad.
Are you still a Jet fan?
I hate to admit it. How do you walk around like that? But I am. Yeah.
Come on, man.
That's
Like, it's
crazy,
going to
man.
happen for them sometime.
Yeah. Maybe I'll still be alive by then, but
Yeah, right.
stranger things have happened.
All right, so you get offered we make
Yeah.
this arrangement. You're going to go. I may have bribed you. I may have said you go to community college and you come coach at us, because I'm not sure you had a plan to do anything at that point.
I got accepted to a school or two, and I didn't love it. I
Right.
wasn't sure if I was ready to go and do that stuff yet, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And so you floated the idea of community college, I think, to me in a way that made more sense than I had previously maybe acknowledged.
Yeah.
And that became it. That's what I was going to do. And I was thrilled about that. I could stay in football and be with you and feel my way through this. Cool. That's great. Got off the rails a little bit, didn't it, Coach?
Well,
Remember?
it always goes off the rails.
So I don't know if you remember. So, Coach Letts, you had asked me for a Coach LaCava story. Let me give it now. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
So,
Go ahead.
so it gets off the rails. So for me, I start showing up to the field earlier and earlier, day after day.
Oh,
And he looks at me and he goes, and he knew the answer.
right.
Don't you have class?
Mm.
And I looked away and I probably smiled and shrugged and got a little embarrassed and probably gave a BS answer to him. But he knew the answer.
Mm.
And he said, listen to me. If you're going to coach football with me, you're going to be in school or you're working full time. And that's it.
Right.
And I said, okay, I understand. I had completely dropped out of school by that point.
Right.
That was
Okay.
midway through my freshman year in college at community
Right.
college.
Mhm.
And I look at that time, and I didn't love school much
Right.
as a high schooler, but I was struggling. I did not enjoy school.
Right.
There was so many things that I was struggling with, and I needed a break from it all, but I still needed football. So I just kept showing up to coach football, and you
Right.
knew something wasn't right, and
Mhm.
you called me out like you should have,
Mhm.
and you made me get it together a little bit here. So I re-enrolled, and I got my grades back up, and grades were fine, and I got into rowing, and I felt really good about that. And I went to
Right.
rowing after our '04 season. You guys had gone to other things by that point. I stayed for one more year, but after the '04 season, I went to rowing for a year, and then rowing didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and I left there too.
Right.
And I ended up getting a certificate, a personal training certificate. I was a personal trainer.
My God, that's right.
You remember that?
Shit. Yes, I do remember this.
And I got hired at a major chain to be a personal trainer. I'm like, cool, I can do this, I can work, and maybe I can find my way back at football, but I'm loosely connected to sports, to football in this way. This might be my way out.
Right.
And what I didn't realize before taking that job was I have to sell really expensive packages to people who don't want them.
I know.
Guys, I didn't know that.
I did that. I wasn't a personal trainer, but I was a salesperson for a gym once, and I fucking hated every minute of it.
I was miserable.
Yeah.
And I gave it my best shot for months.
Mm-hmm.
And they were good to me there for the most part. But it was, writing was on the wall. I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a salesman.
Right.
I want to help people, and I want to feel good about what I'm doing. And I wasn't.
Right.
So I called you again.
Right. Yeah.
And
where was I now? I was at Manchester now.
You're at Manchester. And I said, I'm working full time. I think I need to go back to school, but I really want to coach football some more.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, okay, you're in school though, right? You're going to be in school. I said, yeah, I'm going to be in school. I'll go back to the community college again, and I'll sort some things out again. And you said, okay. And you talked to Coach Q, and Coach Q was gracious enough to agree. And I got to be there for 06, which is another really good experience for me.
Yeah.
My grades good again. And I was researching some schools. Where could I finish this thing out? And I chose Delaware Valley College. That for a year.
Del Val, baby.
Del Val. And that's where I got involved with CD West, which was cool. And
so you coached football out there. Okay. I just want everyone to know, because I didn't know this, that you love football so much that when you went out there to Delaware Valley, you felt compelled, to coach. And you took the initiative to contact area programs and to say you're available, and this is what your experience is, and you'd love to coach. And, tell us what that coach's response was to you, man, when you reached out to him.
Some responses were, we don't have anything. Thanks for asking. I remember reaching out to the guy who was coaching the college team at the time, and he'd already given away whatever, undergrad and graduate assistantships that he could. So that wasn't available. But I heard back from CB West. And there was those TV specials on about the Pettons, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool.
They were a powerhouse, man.
I'm like, that's a change of pace. This might be really interesting. And I met with the guy who was coaching the team at the time. It was not the Pettons, unfortunately. It was another great guy who I enjoyed being around. And I got to coach different positions. I never coached them before. I got to learn so much coaching different positions, which at times was a struggle, but the football thing was important to me. I'm learning how to coach.
Of course.
So I did, and that was great. But Del Val wasn't necessarily great. And I'll come back to the CB West stuff in a minute. But the Del Val thing wasn't great, and I realized it was the wrong school. Another learning experience. And I left there too. But this time, I'd been in touch with a teammate from Allentown. It was Mike Preston, and Mike was in the Navy. And I told him, I said, Mike, I have been through bunch of schools and I've taken jobs, and I don't know if I'm ever going to finish this damn thing. And I don't know what to do with myself right now. He said, don't quit. Don't stop. A lot of guys in the Navy go to Thomas Edison State College and they get their stuff done there.
There you go.
And you always told me, it doesn't matter where you get it from.
Just get it.
What it is, get it. That was your advice to me. Just get it. And so Mike told me about that, and I looked it up and I applied, and they took everything I'd ever earned.
Yes, that's what they do.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, I'm at the finish line. I can do this.
Right.
And that was I finished in a few more months. I had completed everything, and by then you were about to take over Colts Neck, and I got to call you again, or maybe you called me. But I'm so happy to tell you that I got on the piece of paper.
That's awesome.
That I finally finished this goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And to wrap up the Coach LaCava story, that doesn't happen without your influence.
Well,
it doesn't. I wouldn't have been motivated enough. I might have floated for God knows how long, doing God knows what. But I kept going because the Allentown influence was there too. You just keep going. You're just going to lose a lot. Just go.
Look. Let's go in the future just a little bit for the audience here, where Casey, really, wasn't into schooling, and he bounced around a little bit, and Greg was pressuring him. And KC, look at all the schooling you end up with. Tell everyone what your degree is now, what your certification is now, what you're doing now. Tell us.
That's right.
Yeah, so I guess I wasn't done with school because I enrolled in a master's program just after we were done with Colts Neck. Around the time my kids were being born, and were already maybe one at that time, my older one, and had to do more. And I got my master's degree in applied behavior analysis. I was working with kids with special needs. Wanted to do more with that, and sat for the board exam, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst.
Awesome.
It's the best of all worlds. I get to incorporate my coaching experience with that. I'm helping people. I feel like I'm actually making a difference, and I'm bringing a lot of the stuff that I was taught by you guys as a player and as a coach to my classrooms with my
students. Awesome.
That's
and I
great,
get to work
dude.
with all kinds of staff, students, admin. I'm loving where I'm at, and it only happened because you kept making me do it. You held me accountable, and I just kept going. It took me a long time, and there was a lot of freaking twists and turns, but I just kept going.
But just remember, and I'm sure I've told you this, you did it. I didn't do anything. You did it. You took what you were being told, and you've completed it. None of I didn't take a class for you. No one did that stuff. So that, it's one of the things that you should be most proud of, man. Because it's never too late. It's never too late to get your life where you want it to be.
And Coach LaCava spoke to you like he would have spoken to his own son.
It's true.
Like some guys would be like, "Oh, that's tough." Okay, what do you think you're going to do next? All right, well, hopefully you'll get back in school soon. Coach LaCava talked to you like you were Cody or Luke. And just said, "Hey, and you got to do this. This is what you got to do to get this. So with me, do what you want, but to be with me, you got to do this. You know what I mean?" And so that's just awesome stuff there, man.
That's phenomenal, dude.
Great. I love that. I think about that all the time.
When's the last time you coached?
With you guys in 13.
Wow. Yep. And you can't get involved in brick? You don't have the time?
I think that my work hours are different from the high school hours. So I haven't really tried. I'm not out until 3:00.
Gotcha.
I don't know what
listen, coaching's hard, and especially when you have kids. We all know that. Do you think that that's something that you might do sometime in the future?
Depending on the circumstances, I'd love to get back on the field. I don't know what it looks like now, but I would coach again. Yeah, I think so. Okay. I mean, listen, if you guys are going to get back on the field, call me. All right.
Yeah. Well, you listen, everywhere I've been, you've gotten a call. So,
all right.
So, I mean, obviously I don't see that changing. You know how it is. It's a fraternity of people you can trust and you admire, and that'll work hard. And that's what keeps you getting, staying together.
I really appreciate you saying that telling that story, Casey. That was awesome. And, and now we know, a little more about you and your journey, with education and how that ended up for you, and that you're a professional, in special education, master's level and helping kids. And you've been with the same school district now for 7 years. And it looks like, that's where you're going to be, and you're going to have a fine career, man.
Yeah.
Let's go back, because we want to hear your experiences both at Allentown and Colts Neck coaching with us, and how is that different, than playing for us, and tell us, you got it. This is, people are waiting to hear this, man.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I'm waiting to hear it.
So Allentown was very unique. You were very young, but you come in and obviously you knew us, and you had the opportunity, obviously everybody knew Coach Mortis and Coach Murphy, and they were on the staff, and all of a sudden here you're a young guy, and you were friends with the kids and all that, and all of a sudden you're an assistant with them, and then so tell us about your Allentown experience coaching, and then going into Colts Neck, where we really started to make some things happen, wins and loss wise, and it was great for us.
Yeah, the Allentown coaching experience was great. You're right. In when we coached together at the varsity level, I was only a year or two older than some of those guys. Some of those guys were my teammates.
Yeah.
I think as a player, part of what I wanted to do as a program player was help the guys around me to understand what you were asking them to do, and in some cases how to execute, in some cases what their assignments even were.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started coaching then, really.
Right.
as a junior and senior, under your direction, really. And that was my role. And I enjoyed that role.
Mhm.
So I get to do it again in 2002 as the freshman, one of the freshman coaches with Coach Rake and Coach Mortis. And it was great. That was a great time. What a learning experience.
Tell
Yeah.
us, listen, you just said something before we got on. We talked a little bit before we start recording the broadcast here, and Coach Rake, was an older man. Greg and I had coached with him at South, and we brought him along. Greg brought him along with Allentown, and Coach lived in Hazlitt, and he made this long drive every day. He's retired. Because he really wanted to be a part of it, because it didn't work out for him in a local program, that he had been involved with. They let him go. And he was very upset at that. And he wanted to coach. So we reached out to Greg, and he made the drive. And we'd love to have him on. And you developed a special relationship with him, Casey.
Yeah. Share that with us.
So, I didn't have the experience of knowing my grandfathers growing up. So the Coach Rake got to fill that role for me for a little bit. There was, age gap. I was only 19 and Coach was an older man at that point. And having somebody with that much experience guide me through my first experience as a coach was wonderful. And there were plenty of times where he would tell me what to do, and other times he would let me make mistakes and just do my thing and let me grow. He probably enjoyed that I could move around with the kids, and I would get in the trenches with them a little bit and run a lot with them and throw and catch and everything else. And he allowed me to do that and allowed me to learn how not to be a maniac, because there were plenty of times as a 19-year-old doing this the first time, you're freaking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
You're out of control because
I don't understand that, because you were coached under very too calm individuals,
especially Coach Tom Letson.
Yeah, right.
Who's not in the least bit intense.
No.
But there were times, which is a little bit, I think, out of my character, but a little bit, where I'd had my hair was on fire too, and I was coaching offense.
Right.
So I had to learn during that season how to balance myself out.
I remember your frustrations at times. I have to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little Irish in there too, Coach, And I hope I wasn't offensive in any way during those times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to learn how to balance myself out and really teach. And that was the best part of it. I think we may have won a game with that group that year. I remember having a really, really nice kid who played quarterback for us. He was not a quarterback, but I really liked him so much. And he was one of those kids who kind of was like me, who just came to everything.
Right.
He was there all the time.
Right.
Every day, on time, ready to participate. He was one of when we opened in the summer, he was one of a couple of kids who showed up before we could get more numbers in.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that about him. I wanted him to play. And I thought, if he could at least just take the snap and hand the ball off, and he can play.
Right. Right.
So we did what we could there, and had to get a little creative. Implemented the very same offense that was being run at the varsity level, because they're going there. They got to learn it now. With a couple of tweaks here and there. I remember running a lot of 8 sweep, which we didn't do a lot of.
No, not at the varsity level.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. But we were able to get some leverage on it with our pullers, and I used the fullback on that, did at a pro. And so I would run that to death, and then every couple of plays, I'd let the A-back throw it.
Nice.
That's how we got creative.
There you go.
So we formationed up a little bit, and we ran sweep to death, and then little shot.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
And you let me do that. You gave me the opportunity to sort of just to work with it and learn. And kids had a good time. I know I had a good relationship with many of them, some of whom I hear still ask about me. Apparently, my mom is in contact with a few of them, and they ask about me, and I ask about them, and it's a nice thing.
That's great, man.
Yeah, but we weren't great, and I was learning, and there was some stuff to go through before we sent them up. So I want to say we beat Lawrence maybe that year. Kind of a surprise. Everything else was a struggle, as it was a lot of the time at Allentown.
And how did the freshman kids react to Coach Rake?
Oh God, they loved Coach Drake.
Yeah.
Same thing for them. You know, he was a grandfather for them.
Yeah.
Stern,
Yeah.
Stern, no, because he was a Marine.
Ex-Marine.
Yes, yeah,
Ex-Marine.
there it is.
Yeah.
So they understood that part of things. But they loved him, and he had a good sense of humor too, though.
He did.
Didn't he?
But
And
you
he
never knew with if he was making, being humorous or being pissed off. He was able to keep
which was the
that
best part.
line. Yeah.
It made the kids laugh anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
because they
great,
weren't
man.
really sure what they were getting at that time. But oh God, yeah, they loved him. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we missed Coach Race. Unfortunately, he passed away, while he was on the staff. And that was, I know that impacted you greatly. You had gotten close to him, and it impacted all of us. And,
Yeah.
Coach Murphy still talks so
Yep.
highly of Coach Rake to this day, but that was a great experience for you. And the next year, though, you came onto the varsity staff, okay, and you got to know Coach LaCava and I in a different way, okay, coaching with us every single day and being in on the game planning and then halftime and stuff like that. So tell us what that was like.
Coach LaCava's first message to me when I started spending more and more time with you guys in whatever that was, the field house, I guess it was listen, what we do here is going to just stay right here.
That's right.
Nobody else. We're not talking about anything. We're here to do our thing, and it's just going to stay here. You're going to see us a little bit differently than you did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure I warned them. I'm sure
I warned them more than once. You're like, you might see and hear some different things that you didn't see and hear, in 01.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'd like to see that actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like to see that. That was a good time. And I know Murph, he was on with you last week with the pulling the pranks on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were part of that shit too, huh?
I wasn't in on it because that was definitely all Murph, but I delighted in it.
I'm sure you did. Torture.
That was the funniest shit.
I've never known of a staff torturing their head coach who takes
Casey,
care of them.
Were you in on the Here We Go before we told Greg, about the Here We Go?
So I wasn't necessarily in on that was going to be a tag.
Maybe that was before you became on the staff.
But I remember him saying it. I could be on the sideline, and it's in the first quarter. Things aren't going so great. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. And it was always right. I was always right.
I mean,
whenever I got to Here We Go, from that point on, it was a freaking disaster.
Well, sometimes Coach LaCava. No. Sometimes Here We Go came out in the first series, and I had to say, "Whoa,
that's true.
Come on,
that is true.
Yeah, we got a whole game going on here."
That's true.
I remember noticing that my junior and senior year, he'd do the Here We Go, and I go, "Oh man, this is not going to go well."
That was instead of me dropping F-bombs and swearing up and down and cursing everything I know. That's why I said it.
That was a stress reliever.
That was my stress reliever. Yes, it was.
Phrase. That was your catchphrase. Here we go. Yep. All right, let's get back.
I heard a lot of that stuff. I was on your hip as a junior and senior. I was not trying to let anything get past. I wanted to hear everything.
I know you were.
Well, one thing I will say, KC, is that you experienced Coach and I coached our tails off at Allentown. There wasn't a second that we weren't coaching. And I got to say, I learned, I was a pretty good coach at Middletown South as a young guy, but I really, really learned, how to coach outside the box and how to compensate for things and take advantage of certain scenarios and to really, really use players as chess pieces and thinking about a big deal, like a player that is 3 yards that way instead of 3 yards that way can be a huge difference, in the game and how we look and how we might be able to stop someone. But yeah, you witnessed us really going to town coaching wise.
Yeah, and one of the mantras from you specifically, Coach Letts, was do your job. You have to do your job because in the way we play defense and the way we were athletically, we couldn't afford to have anybody not doing their job.
That's true.
Blow the whole goddamn thing up, which wasn't going to be good for anybody. So do your job. We heard, millions of times. It feels like.
Oh yeah,
How did you guys feel like? How did you feel having to innovate? Going from running what you used to run at your old stops to having to come up with some wild stuff.
Let me take this first. The terminology was Middletown South terminology. That never changed. And the biggest, and I was listening to Coach Letts just there now about what he learned as a head coach, as a DC at Allentown as compared to South. Mine was, there was another layer to it. There wasn't just the coaching part, but it was also the program building and controlling and culture building part that I had to be able to do that and the coaching, which is what made, I think that's part of the reason why I have blacked out so many memories of coaching.
Yeah,
Like not just at Allentown, at all the stops I've coached at.
a lot on your mind.
Because I'm always, I believe what happened, it's from my upbringing, from my parents, specifically my dad. I was taught one way to freaking do shit, one way to be as a human being, because my parents were great human beings. They had faults like we all did, but they were great human beings. And I was taught a certain way, and it worked. As for me and my brothers, like we're all successful, never been in trouble, the whole thing. So I was trying to implement that as well, what I knew into the program. And that was very draining because it wasn't just the football field. I did it in the class, in the building, in the classrooms. I was
Right.
on top of all that shit in the weight room. So I learned so much that being innovative, I think I was able to be innovative because I really knew the game on offense. Like I knew how to coach offense. So it made it easier for me to be innovative, to try new things.
Were you surprised by how much you had to innovate and deviate from what you knew?
Absolutely. And it was one of those things we learned quickly that you have to have the players. If you don't have the
Yeah.
players, nothing matters.
To me,
So that's what you learn right
yeah.
away.
So to me, my thing is that, it just, I didn't think about like, wow, we can't do that. I just immediately found out fast, like, okay, like we can't do this scheme wise. What can we do? But
Right.
it was always driven just to stop the other guy, like stop
Right.
the other guy. Like, like I always had this thing, like, all these chess pieces. I'm like, so I'm going to force this dude, if they have the number one passing attack, that's not how they're going to beat us. Okay, they're going to beat us somewhere else. And if he's not smart enough to know that, then the game's going to be closer, okay, than we think. And they tried. They didn't like it. They all tried, okay? And we took whatever we decided to take away, we did, But, we weren't good enough, okay, to then stop.
Defend the rest.
Okay?
Defend the rest.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how it was for me. Like, I didn't sweat that. I was just like, it was just like, it was just like an animal going from, one meal to the next. It was kind of like, you know what I mean? Like how this is our prey. How am I going to get this prey? Like, I can't catch him this way. How can I catch him another way?
Right.
It was just driven to stop him, just driven to stop and to give us a shot. You know what I mean? That's what it was about.
Defense is a completely different mentality. So KC, you're asking me, did I believe I had to be that innovative? I just did what I thought we had to do. Like whatever was going to give us an advantage, I was going to try to do it.
And we thought, I remember Greg just going back and forth with you.
Oh my God.
Like, what can we do? What can we do? Thinking about offensively, what can we do? Mm-hmm. What can we do? You know what I mean? And you throw things at me, I throw things at you, and we can't do that. We don't have this, we don't have that. It was a dilemma because it is easier, look, like I said, you can't, what I did on defense, Greg can't do on offense.
Right.
Like I can stop something if I put enough resources to that.
Right.
Like I tell someone, you got a Division I receiver. I don't care who you are. Okay. If I have two guys on him, I know how to take him away. Okay. Right. I know how to slow him up and I know how to, and I will take him away. He will not be a factor in the game. He won't. That end of story. Now, and that should be true for any coach, should be able to take one guy away with two guys. Okay. Right. But I could do that. Greg couldn't do something like that.
It's not the same on offense. No. It's completely different.
No, we try to find our advantage through formation, motion, maybe try to generate a mismatch here and there.
Yeah.
This is we really came up with quads.
So much.
You're basically you're doing this. I hope this works. I hope this works, But
Greg, I don't know if you remember this, but I came up with a formation. I don't know if you ran it once, and tell me if I'm stealing your idea. I don't think I am. But I came with this formation where we would have an offset eye, okay, with the court, and we would be able to run, like ISO to one side or option to the other, or Matt running the ball. But we had an offset eye where we wanted to put defenses in a dilemma where we can run like ISO power at you over here.
Well,
but we can threaten you on this side with our
That
running quarterback.
you may have done that. You may have offset the back, and that's how it started. And then I just created the plays that went with it because
Right.
we did a lot of. KC knows he played in it, he coached in it, motioning, backfield sets. We did so much shit.
KC,
KC, speak about that.
We were
well,
really
the
go
one
ahead,
thing.
Coach Letts.
I wanted to, yeah, Greg, I didn't say this last time, but I don't know if KC was coaching at the time or playing, but I just wanted to give props to the Allentown guys because, Greg on offense, we were trying to figure a way where we could go left or right, and the other team not knowing. And
Right.
the kids came up with it. They said,
Right.
first name left, last name right. Okay,
Right.
so if we call a first name, we're always going left. We call a last name, they said the other team will never know. And they
Right.
didn't. And that's something that they can. I don't know if you remember that, KC, but that's something.
I remember that. Yeah.
I don't remember what year it was, but that's right. We did that. And the kids did come up with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's real. And the best ideas sometimes do come from the folks on the field, right?
It's very true.
And
do it.
I want to pay respect to those guys, whoever had that idea, because later on at Colts Neck, Greg remembers this, for my slant calls, I would yell out, we would go LaCava would go left and Greg would go right. And I would
Right.
yell out, LaCava, Greg. So, when I said Greg, no one knew what was going on. So the line slanted right on Greg and they slanted left on LaCava. It was freaking great. All right. So Allentown. So you can listen, I don't know in Allentown or Colts Neck, but I'll ask you, you got a story about Coach LaCava. You can come up, I don't know if you're thinking about a story about me. Okay. I'm sure that Abby at least would like to hear it. Maybe some of the other players too.
So here's so my Coach LaCava story was a little bit more on the personal side about how he affected me and impacted me. And I'm not gonna make too much fun of you, Coach. All right. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know you don't like
Thanks.
that anyway.
Thanks.
So Coach Letts, I'm not gonna make fun of you either, but I want you to know that your players remember you fondly from some of your Letsonisms. Okay.
I know.
When I talk, so I recently reconnected with Joe Frank. We haven't talked in 20 freaking years. And I got in touch with him.
Awesome.
And the first thing he said to me was, "Put your chest on somebody."
Yeah.
Okay, that was a Letson Allentownism that he repeated over and over and over as he tried to break the bad habits from previous seasons. And obviously, the Allentown Swarm did not result in a lot of sound form tackling.
He did.
Coach Letts was trying to teach us how to do that.
Right.
And the thing that he would repeat over and over, louder and louder, was put your chest on someone.
That's awesome.
And he would, Coach, you would pound your chest and you would bow up, right? Your shoulders.
Yes, it's true.
Chest out.
It's true. It's so true.
Dude, everybody remembers that.
Right.
Everybody remembers those. The Colts Neck kids are going to say, put him in his grave.
Right.
Maybe not go over great now, but
Right.
you would put him in his grave, and they would call it back.
He takes one step at you, put him in his grave.
Put him in his grave. Put him in his grave, and they would call it back. And so you would spend seasons, it seems like to me, repeating things over and a message, okay,
yes,
over and over and over to develop a mindset that you had developed for the season and for that specific team and the things that they needed to accomplish, whether it be a toughness and sound technique, sound play from Allentown, or just the killer's edge.
Yeah,
he needed to finish the job.
He did that at South too.
I
He
bet.
did the same thing at South.
I would love to hear the South players
Well,
tell us.
Coach Letts, tell the Telesmack story.
Oh, yeah.
That was 1992, maybe?
It was 90, 91. It was, I think it was 90 because it was Steven's
St.
senior
Joe's
year.
Montville. St. Joe's Montville.
It was, we were home against them. And, he was a very big kid. He already had Greg, that day they had 6 or 7 players that already had Division I scholarships signed.
Incredible.
And of course we had a pretty good team.
Yes.
But we didn't have the players that they had overall, but we had our core guys that were extremely tough. And we had Steven, obviously, that went to Penn State. And, but anyway, they had Greg Telemack, and look, he's probably a really great kid. We didn't know him. He's from North Jersey. You know what I mean? He was going to Georgia Tech or somewhere. I think he already signed or something. He was big, 6'2", 230.
He was good.
He was good, but he fumbled. but he fumbled.
Right.
And, that's all we needed to know. So, we called him, again, we weren't targeting anybody. Guys take this the wrong way. I'd be the last guy to want to hurt a kid, okay, in some freaking dastardly malicious way and try to put him out of the game. So that's not who I was, and that's never anything that we ever did.
Everybody who knows you knows you're not that way. So don't worry about it.
So when I say this, though, they'll probably say, "Oh, you were targeting him." Well, he was a big back, and and it's hard to bring down a 6'2", 235-pound kid. Okay, especially after he got going a little bit, and he had some pretty good moves, whatever. But his name was Telemac, and we called him all week Telesmack because we were going to smack him. And it was over and over again, Telesmack, and then we had a big player playing him. It didn't matter. We couldn't get whoever it was played tailback was a really slow kid because we didn't have any big fast kids like him. But we called him Telesmack, and this poor kid was like, "You're Telesmack," and it's like, And we tackled a big dummy. I remember a big heavy dummy. We forced 2 fumbles. One on a kickoff.
So the point is that he's been doing this since the beginning. Yeah. Tommy has these things that he comes up with that no one else can think of. And
Brian Veith, I will tell you, Brian Veith, I wish I could get this on film, but Brian Veith was, one of the best defensive ends I ever coached. Undersized kid, like a lot of them are, but it's just so tough, technically sound, and he was just so all in. And the Telesmack thing, man, so they ran away from him, some type of read play, maybe an ISO away from him, I don't know. But he did his job, because he was so technically sound. He came down the line of scrimmage, saw the kid because this kid started to cut back. He had a full head of steam, and Telesmack, Telemac was a big kid, 6'2". Brian was, 5'8", 9, 10. And he hit him so hard, he didn't mean to, but he hit him in the side, and his helmet popped off. And as soon as his helmet popped off, because the kid is 6'2", everybody in the stadium saw it. The defense were out of their freaking minds. You would think they were just released from some institution. You know what I mean? My God. And the game was over at that point. They had no shot when we knocked his helmet off. And these guys, they saw blood, and it was over. You know what I mean? But the thing is, but I might have said, I don't know if I said, coin this at Colts Neck or whatever, but it's true. And you saying the repetitive things and trying to brainwash kids in a positive way, that is brainwashing in a positive way. And I would say my job is to put my brain into your brain. I need my head, what I think. I need 11 of you out there, and I'm going to be number 12. I'm going to be there too. So it's 12 against 11. They're outmatched, because I'm basically on that field with you too. And that's what I tried to sell them. And the 6 foot under, put him in his grave, things like that. I mean, listen, like kids react to that. It's not about hurting anybody. It's just about, like Coach Bova said, this is a violent game, man. It is violent, But anyway, we got off track there a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, KC. Tommy, it was me that brought it up, but I just wanted to make the point that he's been doing that since the beginning of his coaching career.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what I expected to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go into Colts Neck, because you went on your journey and you had to stop off there with Greg again at Manchester and with that year, and there were a lot of great guys on that staff that you met. Coach Hope there and Killer. You met Coach Killer there. I think Coach wasn't Killer on that staff too.
Yeah.
And great guys, just great guys, and of course Coach Panicu, great guy. So and then you come to Colts Neck. So let's talk about your Colts Neck time and what you got it, because that was Coach LaCava. That 5 years. First year was a little bit rough, but we knew the sophomore class in 2009, they bought in. We could see it. And we ended up having, the success that we always were, we felt that our approach would result in, at a place that could give us some players.
And here's the thing, though. One thing, KC, the way we were going to do it was exactly the way we did it at Allentown. It never changed. No matter where we were, we always did it the same way.
And he could speak to that.
Yeah. It was literally no different.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same message, the same level of detail, the same expectation about the way we were going to look, the way we're going to line up, how we're going to stand for the flag. Where you're going to put your helmet when you're standing for the flag. what we were going to run offensively, which could be flexible. I mean, we did a lot of stuff, but
Mhm.
you mentioned the terminology being transferable. It was,
Right.
everything made sense. We put it in terms that were going to be understandable and transferable to another set of plays offensively for us
Right.
at least.
Right.
Um, we were going to put kids in the best position for themselves and for the team. That might mean a position change. That might mean um, tweaks to what their roles might be. And eventually we got some really strong buy-in. That '09 team did not have.
No.
Right.
We weren't
No.
there.
No.
Same deal with the
Allentown.
99 Allentown team, who the seniors were on their way out and they'd been through
And I
COVID.
would argue the 2004 Manchester team too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think as bad as Allentown and Colts Neck, but there was still resistance there too.
I could
That
imagine.
first
So I
year.
remember being there for your '04 Manchester playoff
Yeah.
game in Point
Yeah.
Borough. I remember
Yeah,
that.
we lost that game.
Yep,
Pissed me
that's
off.
right. But I remember feeling that team was decent.
Yeah.
And I don't know what had happened there the rest of the way, but the '09 Colts Neck team was not ready yet. We were not bought in, and we were going to get what we could out of them while building the message,
Right.
building the culture, and things were going to change.
Do
Right.
you remember that practice when we challenged the number 1-0 on the 5 yard line with all sophomore D,
Yes,
and we
yes, I
stopped
do.
them?
We
Yes,
couldn't
I do.
score. We could not score.
That was pretty intense. I got to say.
Because and not to demean anybody from that '09 class because they're fine kids.
Yeah.
That sophomore group was hungry.
Yeah.
They had heart, man, and they
Yeah.
wanted to play, and they had chip on their shoulder.
They did.
And not a lot of them were very big either.
I
Talking
know.
about Vic and Joe,
I know.
the ones that stand out to me the most. Like, golly, they were not huge kids,
No.
but they
No.
wanted it more.
They
That
did.
was evident. And for you guys, and I remember seeing it, but for you guys, you probably thought that's our moment, and this is what we're
Yeah.
waiting to see.
That's when I knew from an offensive perspective, we're doomed. And we barely scored that year. We weren't very good offensively in
No, it
2009.
was.
That
And then
was
when
tough.
We were
then
bad.
when Chris went down,
Yeah.
that even made it
Yeah,
obviously
that
worse.
you know, it was just they weren't ready to buy in. The program was run a completely different way, and I was part of it, so I knew how it was run. And those kids did not listen. Casey, were you in that meeting when the seniors called the meeting with us, the coaches?
I remember it happening. I don't remember the meeting though.
Yeah.
If it was on a Monday, I might have been at a JV game though.
It was on a Monday. It was
Oh, then
just
I wouldn't have been there.
it was just Coach Letson and I.
Okay, how did that go?
That moment was that just solidified in my mind that I was right about that class. Not all of them, not all the kids,
Without
but
naming names,
yeah.
how about what happened in that meeting?
Tommy knows better than me. Again, I was like probably in a daze that it was
Well,
even
I mean,
happening.
the thing I know about that meeting is that sticks out is that we
It wasn't about playing football. It was about
right.
everything else.
We were surprised that the number one complaint that they had, and again, you have to understand that they were conditioned this way, okay, and that they weren't allowed, for the lack of a better term, bully the underclassmen the way that they were bullied, okay, and that bothered them. That finally it was their time to be seniors, top of the hill, and to tell underclassmen to do whatever they wanted, okay, for them to clean up everything, for them to be first at the dinners, for them to be treated like kings, and for the other ones to be servants. And I was totally blown away that it wasn't about playing time, okay, nope. It wasn't about what we're doing, it wasn't about how they're being treated, other than that. It was about them not being able to get their turn. They didn't want to carry another bag.
Right.
They had that. And Greg set the tone. We didn't know that the whole team basically was in shock. Thanks for turning that light on, by the way, Greg.
Yeah, I know. It was getting dark.
Yeah. That we didn't know how impactful it was. Again, we were new. So, when the first practice, Coach LaCava tells our starting quarterback, who's coming back, starting quarterback, to take the ball bag out. Okay. Yes. And he was, I guess, was in shock, and everybody else was in shock. And, it kind of went downhill from there. And, And then the second thing, Greg, that I don't know if it came out from that meeting or it was communicated to us. They said that practice wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And, and we were kind of set back by that,
Yeah.
because football is fun. You know what I mean? Well, we don't set practices for your enjoyment, okay? And play games and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And you will come to love the practice with how we're running it and what our goals are. We start achieving our goals. And guys, they had to get to know us. They didn't know us. Obviously, Casey, you playing for us and coaching with us at two stops. There were parts of our practices and after the kids got to know us and we got to know them, it was really fun. And we did some fun stuff and we had a good time. And, they would, they know Coach LaCava's, his little things about him and it was just great. And we had a great time. We really, really did. With both clubs, with Allentown and Colts Neck, we had a great time with the kids. I will say, they were both outstanding, outstanding squads, character wise after we were there and they got to know us, but yeah, so tell us about, again, you have this unique perspective. You were a player for us and then you coached with us at Allentown, then you coached with us at Colts Neck. Tell us about the Colts Neck kids after we got out of 2009, about their feeling about the program and about how they were being coached and the vibe that the program had.
Things started to change in 2010, and it started to change, I think, pretty quickly. I know it didn't reflect itself in the record for the varsity team, but that year I coached that freshman team, and that was Anthony's class, Verka, and a lot of the great players we had who got us, pretty deep into the playoffs. And it was my goal during that season to treat them like varsity football players because most of them were going to be. And we were good, and we knew we were good. Right. But I also wanted to hold them accountable, and let's not get our heads too big. And let's learn how to play varsity football so that you can be ready to go the second you step on the field as a sophomore. And some of them were ready. I remember at one point, though, one of the practices we were having, offensive part of the practice, and we had one player who's a bit of a joker, great personality. But one of our offensive linemen, nice kid who I really like. But at the time, this was pissing me off. Right. And he was really good, but he would not shut his mouth in the huddle. And I gave him reminder after reminder, chance after chance. I said, dude, it's the quarterback's huddle. You've got to shut up. Or if I'm in the huddle, it's my huddle. You've got to stop. There'll be time for that, I promise. It's not now.
Right.
And he decided that, he was going to see if he could keep going. And I lost it. I said, get out of the huddle.
Right.
Don't come back into the huddle until you're ready to be part of that, be part of this team. And I subbed him from games too. And I asked somebody else to play because the character part of things was going to be more important to this player than the physical development for him because he was going to get there. It was clear. Right. But right now, he wasn't ready mentally and emotionally to be part of what we were going to ask him to be part of in a couple of years.
I love that you did that. Do you know that a lot of young guys wouldn't do that?
No,
dude, I couldn't take it. And I'm like, I'm pretty lenient for the most part. And I know kids want to be kids and there's fun to be had on the field. But at some point, if I'm trying to teach you something and you're not, ready to listen to it, get out.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll circle back.
I agree. I'm sure you saw that many times, coach, as a player, under us and as a coach with me, like in
absolutely,
coach, it's not happening.
There's some things that just can't be accepted if we're going to get to the next level.
Right.
And that was one of them. We need your attention. And that's, I think, pretty basic. That helped turn things around for him. He got back into the lineup and he was a major contributor, to the team going forward. Very, very good two-way player for us. And I like to think that influence.
I'm sure it
did something for him.
I'm sure it did.
I remember that year, you and I had talked about Anthony's future. Everybody knew Anthony was going to be a major football player at the high school level, at least. And the question was going to be, at least, in our discussions, where, like, what position is he going to play?
Right.
Is he tight end? Maybe good size, do we know what his feet are like? I don't know. We think maybe he's a tight end. So I get to the fields and start running drills and taking a look, and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty good feet. Well,
Right.
you know what? Let's just wait. Let's just wait. I'll make him the fullback. I'll
Right.
make him the fullback, and we're going to run a lot of our 21 stuff because I felt good about both of our backs, and
Mhm.
we're going to inside zone with zone lead, and we're going to hand back and counter and hit our gap scheme and our man scheme, and we're going to use both of these backs. But I want to see Anthony play fullback because I think that might be a better spot for him. And he'd rotate in and out of A and B during practices, and every time he touched the ball, he could be touched.
Right.
He's so friggin' big and
Right.
so fast, and his feet were sneaky good.
Mhm.
I couldn't keep him at fullback much longer.
Right.
He played one game as the fullback for us,
Right.
and that was it. I said, "That's it. Coach LaCava can do with him what he wants next year, but
Right.
right now, he's running
He's a
back.
tailback, baby.
He's tailback, and we'll
Right.
we'll cross that bridge when we get there." And I was blown away by how good his feet were.
Right.
He could sometimes look a little bit awkward, especially at that age, growing
Yeah.
into your
Mhm.
body at
Now,
14 years
tell us
old.
about, okay, young Anthony Gargiulo and his character. You know, he probably knew that he was the better A back or the best A back there on the field, but he wasn't put there yet. Did he complain? Did he come up to you, or did he just
Not,
keep playing?
not once.
Not once, right?
Not one single time did he request something from me.
Right.
It was only, what do you need? I got you. Yes, I will do that. Yes.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
everybody knew that Anthony was the tailback. He had been a tailback. That's what
Right.
Anthony's position was. And everybody else, other than Anthony, would say, Coach, Anthony's running back.
Mhm.
You should give Anthony a ball. And I'm like, Anthony will get his turn. Anthony's
Right.
fullback right now.
Right.
Yes, let's see how he does here. And Anthony couldn't have been a better team player about that.
Oh yeah, he was that way. He was that way his whole
He would have
career.
played left tackle if I asked him to.
I
Yeah.
know.
He wouldn't have loved it because
Mhm.
he knew too that he was a
Mhm.
running back. It's what he wanted, and he was good at it. But he absolutely would have played any other position I asked him to.
Right.
Of course, we got to know that he certainly was a running back, and that's where he played the rest of his freshman year. He was
Right.
fantastic. I mean, good luck. You can't tackle that kid at that size and that speed.
Right.
So well developed for a 14-year-old.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was remarkable. It really was.
Yeah, and that's what got him on the field as a sophomore, defensive end. And Anthony. Again, I've told this to somebody recently. I don't know. I was so fortunate. I coached great defensive ends at every stop. At Middletown, at Allentown, I had great defensive at Colts Neck, and he's obviously right up there. And as good as an offensive, I don't know how he's going to feel about this, but as good as an offensive player that he was, to me, he was that much better as a defensive player. Like, he was an outstanding defensive end. Cerebrally, he knew what to do. His length, his arms, just his headiness, line of scrimmage awareness, and his willingness to sell out, his body, for his team. Just unprecedented, for me, So
Yeah,
we were
and total
fortunate
buy-in.
to have come across a great player like that.
And so his leadership there is very quiet leadership because he was not a talker. We know that.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
But he was the best player on the field, 99% of the time. And where he went, they followed.
Right.
And that was also going to be huge for us when you ask, what did he say? When I asked him to play fullback and he said nothing. I mean, now we have our leader too.
Right.
right.
We knew that about him going forward as well. So I loved coaching that team. I coached a lot of the offensive line during that year, and I loved every second of that too.
Yep.
Because they were good, and we needed to make room for our backs. And I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that happened. And I wanted to make sure it happened the way that you were going to coach it too. And I don't know, how that necessarily impacted them as sophomores. Like, do you think that accelerated their?
Absolutely. Of course.
Because I
Because
didn't coach a ton of offensive line, but I knew how to do it.
you know how most freshmen come clueless. They have no freaking idea what's going on, but you listen, I entrusted you down there because I knew you would do it the right way. And you were coached by me.
Yeah.
Like you knew, and like you said, you were always next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you were always with me as a player at Allentown. You were always with me as a coach. Like, so I knew, and you knew the offense. Like you knew what to do.
Yeah.
So it was
And
never a question. And of course, if they come better prepared as freshmen into their sophomore year, it's a huge impact. Huge impact.
Good. And I felt like it was. So it was my true intention to make that freshman team a replica of the
Mhm.
JV varsity team that they were going to
Well,
become.
I think that's what every head coach wants. I'm not sure how many of them get that because, freshman's different. It's just different. And the jump from coaching and playing on a freshman level is huge to coaching and playing on a varsity level. So there's a huge different. It's a big gap, but you close that gap down because of the type of coach and person you are. I mean, it's obvious. You know.
Yeah,
It, it,
man.
it became obvious those teams won a lot of games, and they were. I feel like they were ready mentally,
But it
heading
also
into that second year.
it was, I have to share with you how important you were for me being on that level as a freshman coach, because you were speaking my language. It's very rare that head coaches have freshman coaches that
Right.
speak the same language. Like they're coming from different places or just starting
Yeah.
out as a coach. So you were speaking my language. So obviously that was a huge benefit for me, selfishly, to put you down there, to prepare those guys. But listen, everywhere you are, you know, I think by being a player and learning the offense that early and that young, it was always consistent through all the coaching stops you had with us. It was the same
Yeah.
stuff. It was the same terminology. Same, we evolved some things and added some stuff, but the terminology was the terminology.
And that was the best part about it because it repeated itself always.
Yeah,
It was pretty understandable, and we like we said, we changed styles. We did some stuff. We weren't always the same, but the words were the
the words
concepts
never
were,
changed.
the
The
ideas were
words
all the
never
same.
changed. Yeah.
So
So Casey, tell us now, after being involved in Allentown and tough teams, but we just didn't have enough to compete, have a winning season, let alone dream of getting in the playoffs. Tell us how it felt, coming from there and knocking on the door in the playoffs. In 2011, it came down to one game. Okay, us against Neptune. And if we won the game, we were going to make the playoffs. And it was a 24-21 game that we ended up losing at home. And that was really a crusher, because that was our third year, and we really wanted to make the playoffs, and we just thought we were on that trajectory, right, Greg?
Yeah.
And we were number 6. I think I saw this stat because I was doing some research. We were 6th offensively in the Shore Conference, I think, in 2011.
We were good,
Six,
man.
six.
We were
You
good.
know, but then but we didn't make it. But then the next 2 years were outstanding years for us. Tell us how it felt, and and what that vibe was like.
Because
it was,
because you
yeah,
came full circle with us,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know?
Well, so first it was extraordinarily validating to know that what we were teaching, what we were doing, culture wise, was working.
Mhm.
We always knew that our methods were appropriate, and we believed that they were going to work. It's only a matter of time. And hate to say it, but athlete,
players. Yeah,
and yeah, and
Yeah.
this was a different athlete.
Mhm.
These kids were built a little bit differently, and they bought in pretty fast.
Mhm.
They developed pretty quickly. So yeah, you could see it starting to turn in 2010, 2011. We got real close. That 11 team, we had some good quarterback play, and I was worried heading into 12 if we were gonna be able to get that back, because I didn't know for sure what we had coming to play quarterback, and I was
Right.
pleasantly, wildly surprised
Yeah.
with the kid who
Best
came.
best single year quarterback
yeah.
ever in the history of that school.
Listen,
You
I want
know?
to put this. I want to give Coach LaCava some props here, okay? And Mike Campbell probably doesn't know this, but Mike Campbell was a very good athlete, and he had to wait his turn. And Mike is a very competitive guy, big kid. Like, how tall was he? 6'3"? Was he big
Six
kid?
three, yeah. He's
Yeah,
six three.
big kid. He wanted to play receiver, and Greg didn't let him. And I went to Greg one day, and I go, Greg, we really could use him. You know what I mean? And I really think that you should give him a shot. And Greg was reluctant because he's like, what if Dylan goes down, and
Right.
you know what I mean? And Mike gets hurt, and I don't have a backup. But Coach did it, man. You know what? Mike had some really big catches,
He did.
in 2011. I mean, I remember this. He
Yeah.
was real. He wasn't obviously he wasn't that fast, but he had great hands, long arms, and he just ran good
And he was a
routes.
big body. Like he's a
Yes,
big kid.
And he knew how
yes.
to use it. That was his
Yeah.
strength. He knew how to use his body.
Mhm.
So I mean, that was wonderful. And but then he just exploded. Having him and Timmy, I mean, I was thinking about this, Greg, in case coming from Allentown, where we just, the kids try so hard, but we're just so outmatched, and we couldn't threaten anybody. Here we had these two guys that put fear. Okay, we had Anthony in the backfield, Mike at quarterback, Timmy. All three Division I athletes for once, and they put fear in people, man. And wow, I'll tell you what, that was some ride.
It really was.
KC, real quick, with this talking about receivers and quarterbacks and stuff. I don't know if you'll remember this, 1999, who was our Scott receiver. Scott Walsh Riddle.
Greg,
I was just talking with Joe about this.
I told you it was two names.
Yes, you did.
Scott was a good guy.
Here's what kept me going. That was 1999, and we were freaking terrible. Even though we sucked,
right?
We had Scott Walsh Riddle may have had the second most catches, or in the top 5 in the Shore Conference.
Yes.
Matt Krantz was up there too as a tight end, because we were using tight ends left and right because we couldn't do anything else. And even Mike DePinto at one point was in the top 15 or 10 in the Shore, and that was at Allentown.
Yeah,
that's right. And Walsh was good, man. He was
good. He was legit.
Joe was talking to me the other day about Walsh opened up the game with a kick return, and the rest of the game didn't go well. But by God, Walsh got his play in, and
he was an awesome kid. He was a great kid.
I liked him a lot.
Great kid. Yeah. All right. Sorry. So we're back to Colts now.
Yeah, going through the playoffs with us. How'd that feel, man? Like the vibe, and it was really exciting, wasn't it?
It was really exciting, and like I said before, validating, and like this was going to be a chance for us to kind of like prove that what we've been talking about all this time is legit. And
give us the players. Players.
We had the horses now, and we could do a little bit of everything. We were always going to be run first. Mm-hmm. That's the philosophy. That's the idea. But now we could do a little bit more off of that. How can you defend all that we had on the field?
Couldn't.
Most teams couldn't.
No.
We scored 1 billion points, especially in 12. Mm-hmm. That 12 team, I thought was the better of the two. The final
they
two.
Were. Yeah,
we probably
overall as a team, 12 was.
I mean, look, even Middletown South, when they beat us, they couldn't stop us. They just outscored us. We couldn't stop them. To their credit, very difficult to play a good team twice in the same year, and they were great that day. But we actually put up more yards than them. I think we put up 600 yards on their D. They put up 500 on ours, and they scored more points. So they beat us 45-38 or whatever it was.
45-35.
And what a game that was. But you're right. I felt like that team could have went all the way. And, credit to South for beating us that day. That was their day. And boy, did they have a task at hand, because Mike and Timmy were freaking unbelievable that day.
And Anthony was in the backfield.
Anthony
was in the backfield. Yep.
KC, I wanted to know how it felt coming from Allentown and your first playoff game and your first playoff win against a CBC team against Steinert. How did that feel?
Yeah, Steinert was one of those teams when we were, as an Allentown player, we did not care much for Steinert. They were big, bully type of team. They were not real pleasant to you guys, and we knew that. And to have a CVC team come to our Shore Conference house at Colts Neck and tell them to go home, that was pretty good.
Well, this was so ironic for us, right? For Coach LaCava and I, because who would have thought, in what universe, does the team who was, back at Allentown, where we had to forfeit against, because we were out, we only had 18 kids, 6 of those kids, were never stepped on the field and would have had to have played against an 8-0 Steinert club when we were 1 or whatever. We had, 6 starters hurt, and we made the decision to forfeit. And then they called Greg out in the paper. And that was a mess. And then come full circle, and then we beat them in the playoffs. Different coach, but same school. And then we beat them in the playoffs years later. So that was really poetic justice for us.
Yeah. I mean, God, so validating for us, and more so for you guys, because I know what you went through that year in that specific game, and that was BS.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yep. But we had the last laugh on that, I think, and
we did.
Well deserved. That the playoff experience was new to me. You guys had gone through it, but I hadn't. And so
Mhm.
it's kind of a special time for me that the hard work was paying off, and the kids were going to experience something that I hadn't. And I was really looking forward to seeing what we could do with that 12 team. Like you said, I think we were good enough to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just, we had a uncharacteristically a difficult time that day defensively, and that was a good defense that year.
I know.
Nobody scored.
I know.
We were
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah.
I just had an off day, and that was terribly disappointing to me because I knew what we had, and Mike was going on. He was going to graduate, and Timmy was going to graduate, and we were going to lose some players, and it was a little bit concerning. But the foundation was still there. What we were doing was still there.
The foundation was there, and we still had a guy. We still had a gun.
We did.
Yeah.
And we had a couple guys step up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected. I didn't expect. The little quarterback thing in 2013, the kid who ended up starting was not the kid I thought was going to start.
Who do you think was going to start? Who do we even
I
have?
thought John was going to start.
Oh, that's right. John Miller. Well, he got hurt. That was the problem.
I know.
He got hurt.
But even still, I mean, Christian was playing his butt off that summer.
Christian,
he so hard.
Christian busted his ass that offseason.
Yeah.
That offseason he was busting. He was on a mission. He's a doctor now, right?
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. He lives in Miami. He's a doctor.
Holy smokes. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
He follows our Instagram, so we're going to send him the shout out. That's good.
Yeah. And listen, we went from 2 years of having true quarterbacks in Dylan and Mike, and then Christian. I knew right away how we were going to use him. I'm like, we're going to run the shit out of this quarterback. Like, he could throw good enough, but he's big, he's fast, he's pretty physical, but he can run. And he ran for 800 yards, I think, as a QB, something like that. 600.
Yeah, when he was on defense before he was settled into the quarterback, he was a pretty good defender too.
He played backer for you, coach, and we knew he was tough as nails at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had to change and this is what I talk about in the earlier podcast, and when I talk to people, and you have to be flexible as a coach, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You have to play to your strengths and your weak. You can't, like, Christian was not going to be Mike Campbell and Dylan Cottrell.
Right.
He didn't have that type of body. He wasn't tall like they were. He wasn't a true quarterback per se. But I knew that in the high school level, we're going to use this kid and we're going to put people in binds. You got to remember, we had Danny Calabro, who was a threat out there.
Yeah.
We had Christian, Anthony, and Abdul in the backfield at the same time.
And Mike Viverka, too.
And Mike Viverka was a fullback when we were in our 21 personnel.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you had – and here's another thing I want to say about Anthony. We moved him to fullback before the Neptune playoff game.
Remember.
He didn't say a word.
No.
And Abdul was playing tailback. He didn't say a freaking word. That's just more praise to him. Never said a word.
Just yes, coach, and would do it and do it well too.
He wanted to win. He would have done anything to win.
It's true. And Volpe had.
That's right. We had Volpe. Our defense was nasty though.
We were nasty, but he played tight end for us too.
I know.
He would catch the ball, and Volpe needed some help on the. But he was a threat though. It was the middle of the field now.
Yes, he was.
Threats in the middle with him and the backs, and now out wide. It was a tough assignment.
It was, and our offense was awesome.
We
had a great offense, dude.
We were clicking. We could do
our offense. I love that offense, man. I could never coach with not changing formations and moving people and motioning people. Sometimes two guys at the same, like a trade and a motion and a backfield motion. Like I could never even. I tried to be vanilla. Like, and even at Allentown, we did a lot of motioning and moving stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't do it. I could try. I'm like, I got to simplify this. Simplify. I'm like, I can't do it. I would have killed myself on the sideline. Calling plays, I would have killed myself. So it was always intricate. It was intricate but simple.
Something we always did especially at Colts Neck, we wanted to trade our motion every play, if not both.
Yeah,
and we're not showing the same formation twice in a row.
That's right.
And you mentioned before in a previous episode, your game script had nothing to do with the play call.
No.
everything to do with the formation and what are they going to show us?
Right.
Yeah.
Because
So
I
we can
wanted
make
the
our,
information as soon as possible.
we're going to
You know,
adjust right away. And,
it's amazing over the course of your career what happens, because what you just said, Casey, like every play we want to do this and not be in the same formation. And Greg, mentioned that the twist on the 50 defense that I put in back in the day at Middletown South, it was really effective. And the reason it was so effective is because guys always lined up in the same formations. You know what I mean? And so we always knew what they were going to be in. And so they ran. Of course, they had a number of different plays, but their formation selection was so much different than it is today. And I would always tell Greg, I tell any offensive guy, I'm like, you know what? Changing formations bothers me so much, because I make sure like kids know, what is this formation like? Are we vulnerable somewhere? Did they out formation us?
I always felt that all the motions and trading, although I loved it, I also felt it was tough to practice against. There's a lot of time putting all that stuff in, like, and getting your getting your JV players or your scout team players running it the way you do it. And we had it all down to a science.
oh yeah, we mastered it and it showed in the games.
Yeah.
I think something else that helped us out was our position versatility. We cross-trained positions an awful lot.
Yeah.
In my group, nobody just knew X, Y, or Z or whatever, whatever slot. They knew them
Right.
all.
Right.
They knew them all in case of injury, or if we just wanted to switch some things up and get a matchup, we could do it. And credit to the Colts Net kids for being, as intelligent as they were and attentive as they were to manage all those roles. But we were sending stuff in, rip, flip,
Yeah, we were changing shit. I'll never forget. I think it may have been 2012 when, how we called our audibles. And I remember we went in at halftime and the kids were like, Coach, they know our audibles. I'm like, okay. So let's flip the numbers. If I say 2, we're going to go 7. If I say 7, we're going to go to 2. And we fucking did it.
Yeah.
Like, just fitting that, like, we flipped the entire fucking play call, and our kids were able to get it because they were like, Coach, they know it's 2, what 2 is. They know it. I'm like, all right, let's flip them. And I was like, is this going to work? And it did.
Came from them. It was their idea. It was going to work.
Yeah.
And not everybody can do that. That's remarkable. Yeah, I remember that.
Does something come to your mind? I want to call out a different coach. Does something come to your mind about a coach at Colts Neck that, something happened or something, that maybe Coach and I don't know?
Tommy's digging for information.
Oh man.
Anything come to mind? We had a lot of fun on that staff.
Nothing really comes to mind. I just know how much I enjoyed that particular locker room because we had some personalities in there, not just you two. And Hopi being in there had his own personality. And whenever we had the luxury of having Killer come with us, he always brought a little color, to the room. Derek had his own style, and he brought some things that stuck. I adopted the word moose for about 3 years because the word out of Derek's mouth was moose. Everybody was moose.
Everyone's moose.
Girl, dog, cat, didn't matter. They were moose.
That is so funny, man. That is so funny.
Couldn't help but take that on too.
All right. So as we wrap up here, man, is there anything that comes to mind that you didn't say or we didn't ask that you wanted to say?
Just to piggyback off what you were asking me about how I was feeling about those playoff runs, I was so happy for you guys too, because I know the time and effort that you put into everything that you gave to those programs and how deeply you wanted them to be successful for yourselves in some ways, but really for the players, community. You wanted your players to have good experiences. You wanted them to be taught well. You wanted them to develop as people, most importantly. Yeah. And that was happening big time at Colts Neck in every way. Right. And so when we beat Nottingham in the semifinal, I remember coming to you, Coach LaCava, and I shook your hand. We had a brief hug, and you're stoic. You do your thing where you don't really, you show like you don't really care, but I know you better than that.
Right.
And you cared a whole heck of a lot. And that was kind of a special, 10 seconds for me to know that we kind of did that together.
Absolutely, man.
And for you, same thing, Coach Letson.
Yeah.
You were the emotional leader of every team that I had ever been a part of where you were on that staff. No question about it.
True.
Everybody remembers Coach with Hell's Bells, and because that's your baby, right? And the Letsonisms. And I was just so happy for our success personally, but also for you guys.
That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
I think that the important thing here and for guys to understand is that, that Coach and I were fortunate to be coached in a certain way, okay, by good men. And then we turned around and coached that way,
Right.
okay. And then you turned around and coached that way, and that's why this happened. That's why we coached that way. I mean,
That's right.
it was that important to us, the way that we were treated and that we were coached, and we said this before we came on the broadcast, that it's funny. I really believe that, that so many people talk so highly of their high school coaches. There's no gray area. Either a guy was a total jerk, okay, or he was a great man,
Right.
and it's so
And
easy to be a great man to these kids.
we
you know
wanted great men.
you know
We as a head coach, I would not accept anything less. I didn't care if you knew anything about the game. If you were a great man, I want you as part of it.
Absolutely, man.
Like that's how it starts. That's how it all starts.
Coach, how about you at any closing statements?
No, I mean, again, I think that when Coach and when this podcast idea was born in this past fall, we talked. We know who we're going to start. We're going to start this in chronological order, and we're going to have certain people from certain programs. And your name was obviously the first one, that came up because I felt like a father figure to you. Even though I'm not that much older than you, I still felt that way. Like I
Well,
felt like a father
little.
figure. I'm not that much older. I was 29 when I met him. He was 50. I'm 15 years older than him.
Every time we talk about Allentown, you're always 29. You were like
I'm
29.
29.
You were 29 for the 5 years we were there. 29.
That's fine. I still feel 29. But my point is that you may not have known this, but the things that you just did naturally is what caught my eye right off the bat about you as a player. And that made me comfortable hiring you as a 18-year-old coach and always wanting you part of our staff because I trust you and I know you're always trying to do the right thing. And it was a proud moment for me when you finally found your way with your profession. And I wouldn't have done it any other way, man. Coach was right. It was like I felt like you were just another son of mine.
Yeah. How do you follow that? I mean, that's something really special, man. And like Coach said, having a player that was his first, experience really, other than Greg, I really didn't coach him,
Right.
when I was at South, because we had split team, he didn't play D. And,
I wanted to play D. I wasn't
I know,
allowed.
I know you would have played too.
I know.
Just the trust factor, knowing that you just the individual that you coached is an outstanding young man. You can trust him. You can turn your back and know that the kids are being treated right.
Right.
No, and you don't have to worry about that. You're not going to get calls from parents or anything like that.
Yeah, it's
And that's
huge.
just a wonderful thing. And and obviously, we probably shouldn't have let you play in that game where you got the car accident. Like that was
Yeah.
probably negligence on our part. Like I'm thinking, like this kid was his car was totaled, and he's out there playing. Like oh my God! But
That
just
story lives in famously forever.
that's
That story.
that's some gangster stuff there, man.
I
Like
know.
that just shows Casey, take 1,000 kids and put them in the same situation. How many of those thousands come to play in the game? Like how many convince their parents, you got to pass the goalie. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to pass the goalie with your parents. Like they let you come.
I can't believe it. It's amazing.
And that just says so much right there. Like, this kid totals his car on the way to practice. He's not even late.
Game.
It's a game and he's not even late and he won't go home. And wow. So you already know the fiber of your being right there,
Right.
But,
Absolutely.
I didn't know this part. And I'm very happy that we had this podcast because the influence that Coach LaCava had on you at a very, sensitive part in your life, it was just meant that you two were going to come together there. And he was able to give you that really good, that adult man, constructive feedback and encouragement and being definite about certain points and that guidance. And he gave all that he had to you right there. and that influenced you in such a way that your life has turned out where you're a very happy guy, and you got a beautiful family, and you got a nice job, and as Coach said, you put all the work in. But
right.
at that moment, the influence that we all are influenced by people in our lives, and that was just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I'm so thankful that I heard it, and you're just a great guy. And, I know that we said this before we came on, 13 years has been a long time, but we're like family. Like, you ever need anything, all you gotta do
No, I
is
mean, look,
It
we didn't
never
miss a beat.
ends. It never ends, man.
And we didn't miss a beat. We turned on
Oh.
our screens and we just got to talking like it was nothing. And
It's
thanks for letting me or inviting me to be here with you and let me share that story because I've held on to it and have thought about it many, many, many times. And I want you to know, and I'm glad
thank you. Thank you.
beautiful, man.
And just to end it on this, as much as you may have think you did to me, you did it exactly back that I did for you. You did exactly back for me. All those years coaching me, trusting you, and knowing you would always do the right thing and you became what I tried to make you as a player. You became that, and that's a proud moment.
Yeah. And this now, being a coach. Coach and I talk about this all the time. We don't get a chance to talk to players later on, but they amaze us. Some of the toughness that we've witnessed, some of the drive. You've seen this as a coach, Casey. Now on the other end, like we talked about Anthony and his toughness, and it's not just him. He's a top guy there, but there's so many other players that we might not even mention that were just so tough. And we just appreciate that so much. And we really can't give too many props because we're in the fight at the time. But later on, when we reflect, it's like, wow, like these guys. Wow.
The best part about it is that they did it the way we wanted them to do it, on and off the field.
Yeah.
That's the most pride I have. Like, the wins were great, but creating a culture that will perpetuate itself and last a long period of time as these kids grow up and get older, that's so important.
Yeah. So after this, Bryce, I hope both of you put your chest on somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Put him in his grave.
Thanks for that memory. Thanks for that memory.
That's awesome.
But Casey, it was great having you. And, we're going to end the recording here, but just hang on. Don't hang up yet. Okay. We'll get a chance to say goodbye off the air here. Okay. So it was wonderful to have you. And we're going to make some great snippets out of this. And you gave us some. It was just wonderful. And now everyone that had contact with Coach and I at both Cold Snack and Allentown, but especially Allentown, is going to like to hear a lot of the content in this podcast. So
right,
I want to say thanks, man.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.